Once upon a time, New York City was home to 3 baseball teams. 3. And most of the time, 2 of them would play for the championship of the world in this, the world's greatest city. Okay, pal? Hey, Mrs. Vanucci, the Iceman's here. Now, in 1923, the year that Babe built the house, the New York Yankees would beat the New York Giants and win the very first title against a team from across the river in Manhattan. But, and I'm talking about a big but, you know, like Cecil Fielders. If you're talking about a Subway Series, pal, I mean the real thing, the real Subway Series, then it is Brooklyn. And Mrs. Vanucci, can Tommy come down? The games are on! And the Bronx, the Bums and the Bombers, Dodger Blue and Yankee pinstripes. And while I got you here, from 1941 to 56, the Yankee fans and the maniacs from Brooklyn would ride the BMT line for 7 World Series. Can you imagine that? 7 times they did this. And the players and the moments from those series are unbelievable. Never forget them. Remember? If you don't remember this, I'm going to give you a fresh one. Red Barber going nuts. Jerry Frieda going back. He makes a one-handed catch against the bullpen. Whoa, doctor. Joe D kicking the dirt. Jackie stealing home.
I knew that I was in there. Yogi was a little upset about it.
A little upset. I think he was out. I knew he was out. To this day, he goes nuts. The Yankees beat him every time, except 55. But, you know, we had a headache or something. The Bums of Brooklyn finally became Lords. Yeah, the Lords of Flatbush. Get it? Hey, Mom, I'm just talking to some people here. You take it out. The players, man. Pee-wee and the Scooter. Mickey and the Duke. Whitey and Nuke. And the last series in 56, Don Larson, baby. Perfect. Forget about it. I thought it was boring because, you know, like nothing happened.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ben Scully speaking to you from the Los Angeles Coliseum.
Say, did you hear the news about what's happening in Brooklyn? We really got the blues about what's happening in Brooklyn. It ain't official yet. We hope official it don't get.
But even with this going on, it was unthinkable that it would ever happen. We heard it, but it couldn't happen. It just could not happen.
When the 57 season came about, and again, they were playing games in Jersey City, and the solution of a new ballpark hadn't materialized yet, then it became a little more evident that, hey, this could possibly happen.
What do you think of the idea of the Dodgers moving to Los Angeles?
I don't like the idea.
How about the Dodgers moving to Queens?
I don't like that idea either.
Well, where would you rather see them if you had to choose between the two?
I'd rather see them right here in Brooklyn.
By the time the Dodgers played their last game at Ebbets Field in late September, callous indifference had set in. A 67-year run was ending, and only 6,200 people showed up to see the final act.
You realize there weren't many fans there? Hardly any fans there. But we stayed out to say bye to them, and boy, there were more people crying than you could shake a stick at. Why did they do it?
You say, go on. I don't want to see you anymore. Go. We're done with you.
When it became official in a press release on October 8, 1957, it was the shot heard round the world all over again for Dodger fans.
It happened.
It's the first time you realize that something that you thought could never go is gone.
There were no more Dodgers. There was no more nothing. People tried to explain it's business, this, that, and the other. When you're 8 years old, you don't give a damn about business. You give a damn about where's Duke, where's Carl Erskine, Carl Furillo, Clem Labine, where's Gil Hodges? And Los Angeles might as well have been Saturn. It was so far away.
They left us. There's a bitterness that's never going to leave us because they never had to leave us.
You know when we really knew they were gone? When they tore that place down.
They had this wrecking ball, been painted white, and someone had put some simulated stitches on it. It looked like a big baseball. They swung the ball over the visitors' dugout. As many times as we had hated who was over there, When they dropped that ball, I got sick. I said goodbye and I left.
This is our last season in New York. Just like that. Giants owner Horace Stoneham told the press in 1957. Wipe out 70 years. Just like that. The fans wouldn't buy it. They came out to the Giants' last game, begged, pleaded. Took more than their memories home, but no soap. The Giants left. The sports future of the Polo Grounds was all downhill from then on.
And here, Vic Wirtz hit what looked like the game-winning drive in the first game of the 1954 World Series. And Willie Mays made the game-saving catch that sent the Giants on to a 4-game sweep over Cleveland. Just 3 years later, the Giants stunned New York by their move to San Francisco. Mrs. John McGraw came to say a last goodbye. The Giants ran out on that historic diamond for the last time. It was more like a funeral than a ball game. Pittsburgh won the dull contest 9-1. There wasn't a spark of excitement until the last out. Then bedlam broke loose. The fans poured out of the stands as if at a prearranged signal. The Giants fled as if pursued by demons. Fans fought over the bases. They scooped up bits of that hallowed ground. And long after the game ended, they stood massed in front of the clubhouse, pleading for another miracle at Coogan's Bluff. But the Giants would never again play in the Polo Grounds.
When you started your baseball career, did you ever dream you'd be wearing the uniform of 4 different New York teams?
I realized after 10 years of age that they had major league clubs, and I certainly wanted to get to New York, but I never thought I'd be so successful that I'd go through 3 major league clubs and have a fair career, or the clubs did, and then get to the 4th, and I hope this grows faster than the other 3.
The brand new National League New Yorkers, named the Metropolitans after a long-forgotten 19th century club, had the oldest manager in baseball, Casey Stengel. It's a great honor for me, Stengel said at his first press conference, to be joining the Knickerbockers. The Mets Stadium was old too, the Polo Grounds, deserted by the Giants and just a year away from the Wreckers' Ball. Casey Stengel held court in John McGraw's old office. "Come and see my amazing Mets," he told one reporter. "I've been in this game 100 years, but I see new ways to lose I never knew existed before."
Every pitcher here that's down here has an opportunity to be one of the 10 pitchers, and in other words, we have to find the first 5 or 6 starting pitchers that are going to be on the New York Mets. So look at that opportunity.
His players were a motley mix of veterans cast off by established teams and raw newcomers without much potential. Stengel got a catcher from the Cleveland Indians named Harry Cheaty in exchange for a player to be named later. Cheaty proved so incompetent that he was returned to Cleveland 30 days later, the first man in baseball history ever to be traded for himself. Stengel eventually settled upon Choo-Choo Coleman, who was not much better. A broadcaster once asked him, "Tell us about your wife. What's her name and what's she like?" "Her name is Mrs. Coleman," the catcher said, "and she likes me."
If you join the Mets, you'll get rapid advances, because we had a farm system last year and very little produced.
The Mets fans found in first baseman Marvin Throneberry the best-loved symbol of their team's spectacular ineptitude. Marvelous Marv was marvelous at nothing. He dropped the ball, bungled on the bases. Once he managed to hit a triple but was called out for failing to touch first. When Stengel stormed out to argue, the umpire said, "I hate to tell you this, Casey, but he missed second base too."
Having Marv Throneberry play for your team, wrote the sports writer Jimmy Breslin, is like having Willie Sutton work for your bank.
My favorite Met story is about their shortstop, Elio Chacon, who was eager but not very talented, and kept running into the outfield and knocking down Richie Ashburn as he was about to catch a fly ball. And he didn't speak any English, and so somebody, Joe Christopher, went to him and tried to explain this. And then he went to Richie Ashburn. He said, if you're going to catch a fly ball, he said, and you see Chacon coming out, what you want to say is, yo la tengo, I've got it. And then I've told him, and he'll pull up. So Richie practiced. He said, yo la tengo. And game came along, and the situation was a fly ball. He looked up for the fly ball. Chacon rushed out for him. Richie said, yo la tengo, and put his hands up, and he was knocked flat by Frank Thomas, his left fielder. That was the Mets.
The worse the Mets played, the better the New York fans, deprived of their Giants and Dodgers, seemed to like them. Purists objected to the banners they began to bring to the game. Stengel didn't mind. If a banner got in your way, he said, you didn't mind missing a play because it was something bad happening anyway.
Why, they're the most amazing fans that I've ever seen in baseball. I've been in World Series games. I've played before 96,000, but the Mets, I'll have to say, they stick by you. They stick by you in the hotels. They're on the streets. They're carrying placards. They're going to the place. You can find them over here in right field. 4 innings later, if you get a base hit, they'll be over on the left field line. They make up wonderful placards. The placards are terrific. I even have to stop and look at them. I think I made 15 mistakes this year reading the placards instead of watching the pitcher or watching the hitter to take my men out.
The Mets ended their first season with a record of 40 wins and 120 losses, the worst record in the 20th century. They would stay in the cellar for 5 more seasons, but they consistently drew more fans than the New York Yankees.
An amazing thing happened, which was that New York took this losing team to its bosom. Everybody thinks New York only cares about champions, but we cared about the Mets. And I remember going to some games in June that year, and they were getting walloped. They were getting horribly beaten. But the crowds came out to the Polo grounds in great numbers. And people brought horns and blew these horns. And after a while, I realized that this was probably antimatter to the Yankees. They were across the river and had won so long. And winning is not a whole lot of fun if it goes on. But the Mets were human. And that horn, I began to realize, was blowing for me, because there's more Met than Yankee in all of us. What we experience day to day in our lives is there's much more losing than winning, which is why we love the Mets.
New York City, 1957. Like any other American city during that era, things were rather simple back then, and less costly too. A ride on the buses or subways only cost 15 cents, and an orchestra seat on Broadway went for $8. As a people, New Yorkers loved their baseball. So when the Dodgers announced that they were abandoning their loyal fans in Brooklyn to go west to Los Angeles, and the rival Giants from Manhattan followed suit and fled to San Francisco, New Yorkers were crushed. A city that had long been a National League town was left without a team.
New York without 2 teams, at least 2 teams, would have been, I think, a sports disaster for us. I got together some people to see what we could do, to spend some time to see whether we could get another team in here. We saw that we were having a great deal of difficulty in the expansion problem, but then we got around to start another league.
That idea was the brainchild of Bill Shea, a prominent New York attorney who headed up the four-man search committee, which pressed for the formation of the Third League.
Well, today was the birth of the Continental League. The 5 founding teams consisting of New York, Toronto, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Denver, and Houston met here in New York and announced the formation of this new league.
And that, I think, frightened the owners enough in the National League to decide they'd better expand, have another club.
The recipients of the franchise included the team's chairman of the board, M. Donald Grant, and the majority stockholder and principal owner, Mrs. Joan Whitney Payson. Not only was Payson one of the world's richest women, she was also a knowledgeable baseball fan, and one of her first important decisions was to name former Yankees general manager George Weiss as the team's president.
I think George Weiss realized what the fans wanted in his drafting. He drafted a lot of name players, the Hodges and people, Don Zimmer, who the New York fans could associate with. Well, his idea of bringing back familiar faces to the New York fans, it was obvious that he felt that New York at the beginning would welcome these people back, and they did.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets.
New Yorkers welcomed their National League team with open arms, giving them a ticker-tape parade even before they played their first home game. The enthusiastic greeting befit a city starved for National League baseball and was an indication of the amazing fan support the Mets would later enjoy. Another reason for the tremendous interest in the team was ex-Yankee manager Casey Stengel's return to New York baseball. Casey was named the Mets manager in September of '61, and as spring training opened at Miller Huggins Field in '62, he was already in peak form.
Players, you are representing New York City, where there are great opportunities, especially in baseball. I realize what a great city it is because of the fact that I played on 3 major league cities in New York. And it's been outstanding the way every player on this team is put out in this spring training camp. And if you can continue that way the rest of your life, you're all going to be successful in baseball.
One thing I learned from Casey was he had something nice and kind to say to everybody, and he was always good with the media. He was always would be courteous and give as much time as he possibly could to them. But his relationship and communication with the players, even at his age, was just remarkable, and hopefully I've learned something from him.
I love Casey as a person, and also love Casey as a manager, because he taught me things, the little small things that you have to do every day to make you a better pitcher and to make you a better player.
I think Casey was a very bright, quick guy. I think that Casey talked in this so-called Stengelese. My interpretation of what Stengelese is, and Casey didn't always speak in Stengelese, but my interpretation of what Stengelese is that Casey was thinking about what he was saying. Then he'd think about what he wanted to say next.
But in modern baseball, very few men can go 9 innings. It's a serious thing, and it's their handicap. They got a lively ball. You've got where the ball goes through the infielders quicker, and they go and strike these short fences. And now they got men on bases all the time.
Now he'd still be talking about the first subject, but he'd be thinking about the second one. Well, then he'd jump to the second one, and then while he was in the second one, he'd remember he didn't finish the first one.
Likes to pitch, he wants to pitch, and he isn't frightened about pitching, and he don't show excitement. So he steadied down more as the season progressed, so I'd have to say that's the big 3.
Casey Stengel, God love him, he invented the term, My Amazing Mets, or The Amazing Mets, and look at how it's amazing. You get 2 hits and he'd say it's amazing, you know. They did. They scored a run, it's amazing. That was Casey. Not that they won a ball game. That would be amazing too when that happened.
Led by the inimitable Casey, the Mets opened their inaugural season in St. Louis on April 11th, 1962.
This is Bob Murphy welcoming you to the first regular season game in the history of the New York Mets. Tonight, the New York Mets meet the St. Louis Cardinals right here in St. Louis.
The Mets' first batter was Richie Ashburn, who went on to become the team's MVP in '62. But despite everyone's best efforts, the Cardinals spoiled the opener, winning 11-4. 2 days later, the Mets came home to the Polo grounds, where a disappointing crowd of just under 12,000 people came out in the rain, only to get a glimpse of what would follow throughout the year in the Pirates' 4-3 win. Finally, 10 days later in Pittsburgh, on April 23rd, the Mets broke their string of 9 straight losses as Jay Hook pitched them to their first win, 9-1, over the Pirates. Winning, however, did not become a habit, as the Mets lost a record 120 games in 1962. Yet amazingly still drew close to 1 million fans to the Polo grounds. The next year was much the same story, except that ex-Dodger great Duke Snider was brought home to add some excitement.
And he throws this one deep to right, going, it's a home run! The Mets win by a score of 3-2. The Mets win it 3-2 on Snider's home run into the upper deck in right field. Hey, listen to that crowd. And how do you like that for a finish? This crowd up and cheering at the Polo grounds.
Unfortunately, there wasn't too much to cheer about at the Polo grounds in those early years. With a less than dazzling array of talent, the amazing Mets of Choo Choo Coleman and Hot Rod Keneal staggered through their first 2 seasons.
It got to a point where we'd come to the ballpark and we'd say, well, gee, how are we going to lose today? You know, it was contagious. That's exactly what it was.
One Met who certainly caught the disease was Marv Throneberry, whose opinion of his play differed from those around him.
I was sitting in the clubhouse, and Marv came over, and he said, Jay, you're an engineer, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, engineers can print real good, can't they? And I said, yeah, I took some drafting classes. And he went over and he took the sign from above his locker, and he turned it over, and we got a felt tip pen, and he said, and this was, he made this up. He said, write Marvelous Marv on this card, would you? So I printed Marvelous Marv on this card that was above the locker, you know, those big cards that have names on. Then he put it back above his locker. He turned it over and slid it back in, and it said Marvelous Marv. And after the game, the writers came in, and they were gathered around his locker. They looked up, and here was Marvelous Marv above his locker as they were talking with him. And I think from that point on, I think he was called Marvelous Marv.
Things weren't so marvelous for the rest of the Mets either. And at the end of the '63 season, they bid farewell to the Polo grounds and headed off to Queens. Their new home was a stadium in Flushing Meadow, on which ground was broken a few years earlier.
I was budget director in 1960. At that time, a proposal came up to build a stadium in Queens, which subsequently became the Shea Stadium. And at that time, as budget director, you sit in as an advisor to the Board of Estimate. And everyone except 2 board members opposed it. The 2 are from the Bronx.
Built despite the dissenting votes, the facility was hailed as the most modern in baseball and called Shea Stadium in honor of Bill Shea, the man most responsible for bringing National League Baseball back to New York.
2 weeks after we opened the stadium, I was coming in and seeing 2 fellas in the back seat back of me. One fella said to the other one, who the heck was that guy Shea that they named the stadium? Oh, he said, he was an old ball player, got killed in the First World War. So that kind of puts you back as to what you think you are.
Shea Stadium opened on April 17, 1964, directly across from the site of the New York World's Fair, and it was as well attended as any of the fair's events. That was somewhat amazing too, because the Mets were still anything but world beaters on the field. Off it, however, they were about as entertaining as any losing team could be, constantly coming up with innovations like baseball's first mascot, Mr. Met.
You needed a live one, so I was selling tickets down at Grand Central, and they decided that they would audition me for the part of Mr. Met. So we came up with the paper mache, and Mr. Met was born. So I don't think there was an audition involved. It was just they gave me the ball and let me and let me run with it. You know, it was just became a marriage right away, Mr. Met.
That same year, another marriage took place between Met fans and Ron Hunt, a scrappy second baseman who had an uncanny knack for giving up his body and getting hit by the pitch. As Hunt fast became the Mets' first full-time star, Met fans appreciated his hustle, and Hunt appreciated their support.
Heck, it had to pump you up. And them being young and most of us being young, we were all kind of there together, just trying to find a place for ourselves.
In 1964, Hunt found a place for himself as the National League's starting second baseman in the All-Star game. That year, the game was played at Shea and won by the National League when the Phillies' Johnny Callison hit a homer in the bottom of the ninth. There were other memorable moments in the new stadium's first season, like June 21st, 1964, when the Mets found themselves on the wrong end of a history-making event. Although the Mets weren't always the ones making the headlines, the fans kept coming out to see them, and they kept having a good time while they were there.
I always felt it was fun to go to a Mets game, and the fans really got into it. The fans were just about as much a part of that ball game and as part of the entertainment as the game was itself. But the fans got caught up in it, and the fans started bringing these banners and signs, and the fans would actually enjoy themselves. They were having a good time at the ball game.
That was quickly becoming the key to Mets baseball. Whether it was unfurling a banner or reveling in a great play, there was no better time than the time at Shea. The tenor of the Mets didn't change much in 1965, even though new young talents like Ron Swoboda began to provide some hope. In '65, the highly touted Swoboda made everyone forget about his rocky fielding when he hit a Met rookie record 19 home runs. Meanwhile, Ed Kranepool, who had joined the team as a 17-year-old from the Bronx in 1962, took over as the Mets' starting first baseman, a position he would hold on and off for many years to come. But the Mets still lost a lot more than they won. And during the summer, they even lost Casey. A broken hip forced the Mets' ultimate press agent to turn the managing of the team over to Wes Westrom, thus ending an era in which the Mets lost over 100 games each year, but won over a lot of fans who would remain with them forever. Although the Mets wouldn't achieve success on the field until 1969, the building of their championship team actually took place in the 3 preceding years. Cleon Jones, perhaps one of the best hitters the Mets ever had, graduated from the farm system to become a regular fixture in the outfield in 1966, the same year that Jerry Grote arrived in a trade with the Houston Astros. Grote gave the Mets the man behind the plate they had sought for years, and endured for a dozen seasons as one of the league's top defensive catchers. Then there was Bud Harrelson, the smaller-than-life shortstop, who himself became a starter in 1967, another one of the Mets' homegrown talents.
I felt that when more players like myself would get to the big leagues, we would show people that we were an organization on the move, an organization building from the foundation up.
That foundation became even more solid with the addition of Tom Seaver in 1967. Seaver had become a Met when the team picked his name out of a hat in a special draft a year earlier, and almost immediately took over as the Mets' #1 pitcher. Seaver won 16 games in '67 and was named the Rookie of the Year as the Mets slowly built a winning team.
I think I was just part of a group of young players that came along to the Mets at one time and really changed their fortune. The biggest factor, of course, was when Gil Hodges came over in 1968. That was the one thing that turned the organization around.
Gil seemed to come in with a set plan and some enthusiasm about what we could do to win. And I think that was conveyed to the players, and we took on his confidence in us.
The same year Hodges took charge as the Mets manager, Jerry Koosman became the team's top left-handed starter. Koosman had been close to being cut in each of the 2 previous seasons, but by '68, he was pitching at Shea.
I pitched the opener,
the first inning, had bases loaded with nobody out, and Willie Mays is the hitter. And I remember saying to myself, you know, what's a farm boy from Minnesota doing in a fix like this? But anyway, ended up striking Willie Mays out and popped up Jim Rayhart to Jerry Grody, catcher, and struck out Jack Hyatt, and we went on to win 3-0. And in New York, in front of a full house, it was very pleasing to start the season off that way, both, I think, for the players and the fans.
1968 was also the first year fans at Shea were able to enjoy Tommy Agee. The Mets acquired Agee in a trade with the Chicago White Sox to play center field. And although he had a bad start at first, Hodges stuck with him, and Agee eventually straightened out. The Mets and their fans might not have realized it at the time, but all the pieces were in place for the most amazing year of all.
Two teams were joining the American League, the Seattle Pilots and the Kansas City Royals.
I thought the people of Kansas City in this great metropolitan area should have a Major League Baseball team.
And the National League was welcoming the San Diego Padres and the first ever Canadian big league club, the Montreal Expos.
I think that the people of Montreal and Canada are going to be with us, which is fantastic.
The expansion led to more groundbreaking changes, splitting the leagues into 2 divisions of 6 teams each and creating a new round of playoffs before the World Series. Baseball in Canada may have been strange, and so too was all 4 expansion teams winning their inaugural games.
The Montreal Expos get a cheer from their fans.
While by mid-April, a long-suffering club was off to the best start in baseball.
It's all over! Willie Smith just homered! The Cubs win the game!
The first day of the season, of course, Willie Smith hit the home run, and it started uproar in Chicago.
Hey, hey, holy mackerel, no doubt about it.
The Cubs are on their way. Hey, hey,
the Cubs are gonna pitch today. They're gonna hit today. They're gonna field today.
The Cubs are gonna go all the way. I think they're gonna go all the way.
The ball game is over. Oh, brother, what a day!
69, I felt very strongly with the ball club we had, the pitching, the defense, that this was going to be our year.
Led by Ron Santo, Billy Williams, and manager Leo DeRocher, the Cubs won their first 9 games in 69, grabbing an early lead in the new NL East. And in 69, a new winning tradition emerged at Wrigley Field. Santo clicking his heels after every home victory.
I was clicking my heels after wins. The fans would wait, and I'd run down and click my heels 3 times, and they loved it.
The Cubs, baseball's best team? There would be plenty more of the unexpected in 69. And perhaps the best place to find that escape in the summer of 69 was Baltimore, where the Orioles were dominating the American League. The Birds had a veteran roster with no visible weaknesses, as well as a manager, Earl Weaver, injecting a newfound intensity into the clubhouse in his first full season with the team.
He instilled in us that we were the best. When we went out on the field, we should be the best. We went out there and took the attitude of let's go out there and show the world that we are the best.
That 69 team, that was the best team that I ever played on.
The familiar side here in Baltimore, Brooks Robinson coming up with a ground ball.
We just kind of blew everyone away, and we had an outstanding club.
And the Orioles lead 3-0.
It was just quite a show. I mean, we had a complete team, and we could beat you in a lot of ways.
Double play.
Nobody would watch you take batting practice. You just go right on down the line. There was nobody to pitch to.
Robinson slams it into deep left center.
Frank and myself, Buford, Blair, and Brooks, we had all the answers to all the questions.
Which could just as easily have been said about the team's pitching.
Talking about pitching, do you have your set rotation?
Yeah, we've got McNally going the first game, Palmer the second, Cuellar the third.
They were a staff with not only talent, but a willingness to embrace Weaver's directive to trust the defense behind them.
These people wanted the ball put in play. We had great defense, Brooks Robinson and Mark Belanger, and they wanted some ground balls hit to the left side of the infield. Dave McNally, Mike Cuellar, Jim Palmer, they were just artists. And what pitching and how enjoyable it was for me just to sit there and watch them do their job.
A job requirement of pitching in Baltimore was staying in the game until Weaver said so. Second opinions were unwelcome.
Earl did not care about pitch counts. First time I ever kept a chart from Mike Cuellar, I said, Mr. Weaver, that's his 135th pitch. He said, son, get your rear end the other end of the dugout. I'll let you know when he's tired.
The pitcher is Mike Cuellar. He was the winningest left-hander in the major leagues this year with 23 victories.
Cuellar and McNally, they had 120, and Palmer was the best pitcher on the team.
Palmer's really rough. He's 114, lost 3.
And he's the only one that hadn't 120.
While Palmer could boast the rotation's lowest ERA, McNally started the season 15-0, and Cuellar was on his way to a Cy Young.
Baltimore has been victorious by a score of 4-1.
Nonetheless, the more the Orioles won, the more fiery their skipper became.
Earl Weaver's team in the Eastern Division of the American League is leading everybody else by 11 games.
If we won 15 games in a row and lost the 16th, we better win the 17th. That's just the way he was, and that's the way he made us feel. He made us feel that we were the pride of the American League, and we're supposed to go out there and play like it and demonstrate that every single day we walked out there on the field.
Meanwhile, in the NL East, following their fast April start, the Cubs maintained a comfortable lead as spring turned to summer.
The Cubs had a great ball club, and they were one of our rivals.
A familiar sight to Chicago fans. Ernie Banks hitting a home run.
They had an all-star infield.
Ground ball in the hole. Picked off by Sano, and he's got him.
Billy Williams in the outfield.
Billy Williams running hard for it. Made the catch.
Plus, they had a great pitching staff.
Swing and a miss.
So if you look at players position by position on paper, they were the better team. But you don't look at things that way. You play the game.
And there was something else brewing in the NL East in '69, back at Shea Stadium in New York, where the longtime laughingstock Mets were playing a much improved brand of baseball.
When they were starting to play better, you can't think, well, now they're going to win the pennant. Why would you ever think that?
We were just kind of playing so-so ball there through the middle of the season, and then we went on a West Coast road trip. We came off of that road trip, and I think that's when, in all of us, especially the younger guys, believe that, hey, we are good enough to beat the best.
It was a sudden turnaround for the franchise. The Mets had begun play in 1962 as the National League club to replace the relocated Giants and Dodgers, and they'd struggled mightily from the outset.
The fans were in mourning that they'd lost the Dodgers and the Giants. So when the National League came back to New York, that right away brought a lot of fans to the ballpark.
Fans who embraced the new team despite its pitiful play, no doubt due in part to the colorful charisma of the club's manager, Casey Stengel.
As soon as the kid could talk, he started to say Metsy, Metsy, not Papa, not Mama, Metsy, Metsy, Metsy.
But even Stengelese couldn't mask the fact that the Mets averaged 109 losses over their first 5 seasons.
Those years prior to '69, the fans felt sorry for the players, and certainly I think the players were embarrassed playing in front of the fans, but the fans stuck with us.
An ray of light came in 1966 when the Mets won a lottery to earn the signing rights to pitching phenom Tom Seaver. Soon, Seaver and young lefty Jerry Koosman were in Queens, flashing their potential.
Seaver and Koosman gave the Mets something special. They may have had some hope based on what Seaver and Koosman had become already. You have to consider that the beginning of the '69 team.
And as the Mets showed marked improvement, another piece of their puzzle was a New York legend, former Brooklyn Dodger Gil Hodges, named the team's manager in 1968.
What changed our club in '69 was Gil Hodges. He was a presence with that ball club that was exactly what we needed.
The reason for the New York Mets' success in 1969 certainly has been a great team effort, I think.
Gil had the right way, and because it was the right way, we were so much more successful, which made 1969 the amazing year.
even in the face of the offensive explosion. Around the game, there was an arsenal of arms keeping the spirit of '68 alive on the mound. Great pitching could still be found plenty of places. Like in Baltimore, where the Orioles had the American League's lowest ERA.
Pitching, if you had the right pitchers, dominated the game then.
Often, no one was more dominant than 23-year-old Oriole righty Jim Palmer, whose season highlights included a wild no-hitter against Oakland in mid-August.
You look at the final numbers, I think I struck out 11 and walked 9. The box score was kind of ugly, but it was a no-hitter, and it did count.
Palmer's no-no was one of 6 in baseball in 1969. The other 5 all came courtesy of National League hurlers, including 2 youngsters, Pirates 21-year-old spot starter Bob Moose and 23-year-old Cubs southpaw Ken Holtzman, who blanked the Braves at Wrigley Field.
Ground ball, Beckett up with it, to throw to bank, it's a no-hitter for Kenny Holtzman.
As the Cubs held first place through the summer, America was bracing for history. Just a few years earlier, few things had appeared less likely to Americans than a lunar landing. Even if former Giants manager Alvin Dark had figured on it, coming sooner than another kind of blast, off the bat of star pitcher, but hapless hitter, Gaylord Perry.
In bed practice, I could hit home runs. He said, Alvin, this here Perry kid's gonna hit some home runs for you. He turned around at 64 and said, there'll be a man on the moon before he hits a home run.
Just before the All-Star break, baseball paused in awe along with the rest of the world to look to the heavens. On July 20th, Apollo 11 landed on the moon.
And as Sudeikis walks to first base, the astronauts have landed on the moon.
We stopped a baseball game and we heard the broadcast when the guy was walking on the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We played in Montreal and a 3-game series, and we took the bus to the airport, and there was a black and white TV set in the bar, and we watched the moon landing, the whole team, and that was quite something.
A great moment in our world history.
And now that his old man, perhaps more historic performance by a Hall of Fame pitcher came several weeks later when Steve Carlton set a new record for strikeouts in a game, even if he picked the wrong team to do it against.
That night, Carlton struck out 19, and the Mets won because Swoboda hit 2 two-run homers. And every so often, they would win a game that you're not supposed to win.
Man had walked on the moon. Now the miracle Mets were going to attempt the baseball equivalent. There was no club more dominant in 1969 than the Baltimore Orioles, thanks in large part to Frank Robinson, the team's leader in the clubhouse and on the field.
Frank Robinson hit .308 for the year, 32 homers, 100 RBI.
He'd get right up on top of the plate and bail and rake.
There's a high drive. That one is going, and it is gone. A home run for Frank Robinson.
He played hard, and he made us play hard every single game.
Right field, Frank Robinson's got to get a long run to the foul line.
Great play by Robinson.
Frank just made us that much better than everyone else.
Let's take a look again at the swing of Frank Robinson that puts Baltimore on the board.
And then there was the second half of Baltimore's powerful 1-2 punch.
I used to kid Frank all the time. Aren't you glad you got somebody like me hitting right behind you?
Boog Powell hit 37 homers and had a career-best 121 RBIs in 1969 as the Orioles cruised to a division title.
Then on September the 13th, the Baltimore Orioles clinched the championship in the American League East.
It's hard to pinpoint the exact time at which the previously hapless Mets became contenders. In fact, they actually lost to the Montreal Expos in the expansion team's very first game. But on June 3rd, the Mets went over the 500 mark for the first time that late in the season. And on June 15th, they acquired Don Clendenin, who became the slugging first baseman they desperately needed to drive in some runs. Clendenin, in fact, drove in the lead or winning run in his first 16 games as a Met. And by the beginning of July, the race was really on. The competition came from the Chicago Cubs, a team made up of veteran players who were trying to erase years of heartache themselves. The first meaningful meeting between the Eastern Division's two top teams took place at Shea Stadium on July 8th, and the second-place Mets, handcuffed all day by the first-place Cubs ace pitcher Ferguson Jenkins, rallied for an amazing win in the bottom of the ninth. It was absolute bedlam the next night, too, when Tom Seaver pitched what was perhaps the greatest Met game ever. For 8 1/3 innings, Seaver thrilled a record crowd of over 58,000 people by flirting with perfection.
And it's hit hard to left center field. It's going to be a base hit. A base hit by Jimmy Qualls, and it breaks up the perfect game. Now the applause for Tom Seaver. 8 1/3 innings of perfect baseball by Seaver.
At that point, I think the Cubs started to say, you know, we're not going to coast into it. There's a young ball club on the rise, and of course they're not going to give up. And Leo DeRocha didn't believe it in the beginning, but of course I think later on, I think they heard the footsteps coming.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The summer of '69. It was a season of history. From the landing on the moon to performances at the ballpark, to a gathering of musical stars in a tiny town in upstate New York. As the party raged at Woodstock in mid-August, 100 miles south in the big city, the Mets were 9 games behind the Cubs, but surging forward.
Think big, think positive. Everything began to fall into place.
And the ball game is tied at 3-3.
You don't know you can do something until you do it, and you can gain a little confidence.
Toward the middle, Weiss to Harrelson. Now to first. That's 2.
I think that's when we really started to say, hey, we could do this. We could win this.
By September 8th, Chicago's lead had been cut to 2.5 games, and the Cubs were at Shea, primed for a confrontation.
Now the pitch, look out. And he hits the dirt, getting out of the way of a high, tight fastball.
Ron Santo, cleanup hitter, was the first guy up the next time, and I wasn't going to let the Cubs embarrass my hitters like that, and so I accidentally hit Santo.
So the tempo for the evening has been set. It's a big series, and it's a tough one.
The game was tied at 2 in the 6th, but in that inning came an ominous sign befitting of Chicago's cursed history.
Ron Santos in the on-deck circle, and the cat walked right behind him, stopped right in front of our dugout, and just kind of peered in. Most people think that was our jinx.
Who's that crossing in front of their dugout? It's not Lady Luck.
The Mets just had the hex on us, no matter what. And in '69, that's what happened.
The Cubs would lose 2 straight at Shea. And then, the next night, the Mets put their decade of futility even further behind them.
The pitch is hit through the middle. That's going to go into center field. And the Mets will win it. Coming around to score is Cleon Jones. And the Mets have won the ball game 3-2 on the base hit. So for the first time in the history of the New York Mets, they have gone into first place.
We went from 10 or 12 games behind to 10 games in front.
And as they won 18 of their final 23 games, a miracle appeared to be in the making.
And the date, September 24th, and they're facing the St. Louis Cardinals.
Ground ball is short. This could be it. There's 1. There's 2. The game is over. The Mets are the champion. At 9:07 on September 24th, the Mets have won the championship of the Eastern Division of the National League. Look at that scene. They can't hold the fans. The Mets are being swamped. The Mets are being swamped. They've lost their cap. Gentry's cap is gone. The Met fans are pouring into the dugout. They're all over the field.
Here's the guy that causes all the trouble, Tom Seaver, and Tom started it all. Congratulations, Tom, on a great year.
Rob, it's great. It's a third of what we want. We hope we get the rest of it. That's all.
Well, I think you guys have got a tremendous spirit, and you were the leader of it all when you got them all thinking you could win and go on and go right to the top.
I hope so. We got the greatest bunch of guys you've ever seen, and we're just a bunch of young kids that love to play this game. It's terrific.
Trouble is, you guys never have any
It was
fun.
spontaneous. It was new to all these players. They had never been involved in anything like that. The clubhouse was crazy because it finally happened. After all those years, the Mets won.
When they finally did get there, the place went absolutely mad.
As one, as two, the game is over. The Mets have won the championship of the Eastern Division.
I don't know that we've ever had another one now that was as real as that. That one was spontaneous.
Thousands of Mets fans are all shouting, "We're number one."
We celebrated very hard the night we clinched the pennant. We drank most of the champagne, not like most of the celebrations where you spray it around the clubhouse. We were just celebrating a victory.
When the champagne bottles had all been emptied, it was time to focus on the Atlanta Braves and the NL Championship Series.
In that playoff against Atlanta, again, you look on paper, the kind of the players they had, Rico Carty, Henry Aaron, and Orlando Cepeda. I mean, they had some Hall of Fame guys on that team.
The Braves had hit 141 home runs as a team in '69, and if the upstart Mets were to have a shot, most observers agreed they'd have to hope their young arms could outpitch Atlanta's own formidable rotation.
Most of the papers were talking about it was going to be a pitcher's duel. It turned out to be a hitter's duel.
A duel the Mets would win in games 1 and 2 by scoring a combined 20 runs. And the series went back to New York with the Mets looking to sweep.
I think everybody thought we'd be tense because we didn't have the experience, but from top to bottom, everybody was loose.
1-2 pitch. A high fly ball to deep center, way back, way back. That was going and hits the flagpole. Hank Aaron now is homered in each game of this series.
2-2 pitch. There's a long drive to right. That one is out of here. Long drive. Goodbye. Done. There's a little roller. Yes, the Mets are the National League champions. The New York Mets have turned in one of baseball's most unbelievable stories.
But at Shea, early in Game 3, Henry Aaron got the Braves going early with one swing of the bat.
A high fly ball to deep center, way back, way back. That was going and hits the flagpole right over the 410 mark, a curveball. Hank Aaron now is homered in each game of this series.
Against Braves right-hander Pat Jarvis, though, the Mets' bats awoke again.
There's a long drive to right. That one is out of here. Long drive. Goodbye. Done.
As New York put up 7 runs in a span of 4 innings, 22-year-old Nolan Ryan threw 7 innings of 3-hit relief, guiding the miracle Mets into the World Series.
There's a little roller. Yes, the Mets are the National League champions. The New York Mets have turned in one of baseball's most unbelievable stories.
As the Mets were sweeping the Braves, the Orioles and Twins were doing battle in the inaugural ALCS.
Having to go play Minnesota was kind of scary because they had a terrific team.
Even though Baltimore had won 109 games, the Twins' bats scared the Birds.
We had a deep concern about winning those games against Minnesota because they were a tough ball club.
Game 1 went to extra innings, and in the 12th, with a 3-3 score and Mark Belanger on third, Paul Blair took the Twins completely by surprise.
Belanger's on third. He gets 2-2 count. Perfect slot for me to lay down the bunt.
Blair the batter. Blair lays down a perfect bunt. Here comes Belanger to score the winning run.
I was playing third base in that game and didn't expect it, so that's the kind of baseball they played in Baltimore.
The next day, Game 2 again went into extra innings, this time a scoreless affair.
Anytime you got a bunch of zeros up there, there's some pressure on you. And we didn't know exactly how we were going to win that game, but something would happen.
And something happened in the bottom of the 11th when Baltimore's Kurt Moton came up with 2 on against Twins star reliever Ron Peranowski.
We knew that we had our backs up against the wall against Baltimore, so we knew that we were in trouble.
Moton single to right scored Boog Powell, and the Orioles grabbed command of the series with their second straight extra innings win.
We had a scramble to win those 2 ball games, and it certainly helped us going out in the 3rd game to relax and let our bats come to life.
Game 3 was not nearly as close. An 11-2 Orioles rout in Minnesota.
A scary situation after you win all those games during the course of the year and have to go 3 out of 5, because Minnesota did have a good ball club.
But the Orioles had escaped. All that stood between them and a title were a few miracle workers from New York.
As the Mets swept 3 games from the Braves.
Dropped out to third. Garrett has the ball. The throw to first. And the Mets are the National League champions.
Not surprisingly, the whole city was mesmerized by the Mets. From 9th place also-rans in 1968 to National League champions in 1969. The Mets were amazing.
I believe the New York Mets are amazing, 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 amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. Amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. It's just amazing.
Amazing or not, the Mets found themselves in the World Series against what many considered a vastly superior Baltimore Oriole team.
I think you can just about sum up the '69 World Series as saying, if you pick it on paper, it's the Orioles. They have the best statistics in hitting, in power, lowest staffer and run average. They've made the fewest errors. But the Mets didn't win the National League on paper. On paper, they didn't look as good as the Cardinals and the Cubs. They won it on the field, and that's what they're hoping to do here today. And, of course, the Mets not only have fans now in the New York area, they've become a national team as well. The starting pitcher today, right in back of me, is Tom Seaver, just 24 years old, starting a World Series game in this his 3rd Major League season, and he was the winningest pitcher in the Major Leagues this year. He won 25 games. We have almost opposites here today, young and old, right and left. Mike Cuellar is 32 years old, and he was the winningest left-hander in the majors today as he won 23 ball games. So it's Cuellar for the Orioles, Tom Seaver for the New York Mets. And now let's get over here to Bill O'Donnell for his pregame comments. Bill does an outstanding job of broadcasting for the Baltimore Orioles. Bill?
Thank you very much, Kurt, and it's a delight indeed to join you this afternoon. Kurt used the word opposite in his pregame comments, and actually both these clubs won their pennants in opposite ways. The Orioles, from practically the middle of April, just breezed to the American League pennant. On the other hand, the Mets had to fight their way to win the National League pennant, although they had kind of a breeze winning the National League Championship Series over Atlanta. They had to come from mid-August until mid-September before they finally caught and then went ahead of the Chicago Cubs to win the Eastern Division.
Among the umpires and the 2 managers, as the Orioles take the field, here's Bill O'Donnell.
Well, Kurt, if this 1969 World Series has the type of play that both of these clubs were involved in during the 1969 regular season, I'm sure that we're going to see one of the most exciting World Series of all times. We talked earlier about the use of the word opposites. The Orioles, who just had balanced power and balanced pitching strength, both as starters and relievers to win. The Mets, on the other hand, who used good defense, and one day after another, especially late in the season, pitching after pitching after pitching. That's the way they won their flag.
All right, let's set up the Orioles defensively. Boog Powell's at first base. Dave Johnson's at second. Mark Belanger's at shortstop. And Brooks Robinson at third. It's a brilliant infield for the Orioles. In left field, Don Buford. Paul Blair's in center field. And Frank Robinson is the right fielder. Ellie Hendricks will be catching. And Mike Cuellar, 32 years old, the starting pitcher of the '69 series for the Orioles. Born in Cuba, lives now in Puerto Rico. Tom Agee, and you'd have to look this up. How many leadoff men in a World Series have ever led their team in runs batted in? Agee led the Mets in RBIs with 76. Hit .271, 26 homers. Good power to center and to right center. The first pitch of the series is a strike. The 2-2 delivery. Struck him out, and the Mets were gone in the top of the first. No runs, 1 hit,
There were no errors, 1 man left. Middle of the first inning to score. The Mets nothing. The Orioles are coming to bat. Alice set up the Mets defensively. Don Clendenin's at first base. Al Weiss at second. Bud Harrelson to shortstop. Ed Charles is at third. Cleon Jones in left field. Tom Agee's in center. Ron Swoboda, the right fielder. Jerry Grody, the catcher. And Tom Seaver, the pitcher. Incidentally, the Mets, famous over the years for giving games away and making mistakes in the field, are a very, very sound defensive team. They finished second in the National League in fielding. And one of the reasons they're in this World Series is because they didn't make too many mistakes in the field during this past season. And there's the winningest pitcher in the Major League this year, 24-year-old Tom Seaver, who won 25 and lost 7. Lives in Manhattan Beach, California, born in Fresno. A handsome, articulate, chosen National League Rookie of the Year in '67. Showed outstanding promise then and is developing into one of the real stars of the game. Don Buford hit .291 during the season, 11 homers and 64 RBIs. And he can get on base. Ball 1 to him. Seaver, a good fastball. Hard slider. Uses sort of a rolling curve as a changeup. A high drive into deep right. Swoboda backing up, drawing a bead right in front of the wall and can't get it. Buford leads off with a home run. What a way to lead off a World Series.
Kurt, we just had, this is Swoboda. He thought he had enough room, and actually he did have enough room. The height of that fence right there, just to the right of the Mets bullpen, is 7 feet high. The glove will go over the fence. He went up about 9 feet with the glove, and he couldn't get to it. Kurt, right now, Seaver's leaning a little bit more on that breaking stuff of his rather than his best equipment, which is supposed to be that good hard fastball. But there was a fastball.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Frank Robinson. The outfield deep in the step toward left. Struck him out on a high fastball. And 1 left, and at the end of the first inning the score, Baltimore 1 and New York nothing. Charles on deck and then Grody. Second strikeout for Cuellar. Jim Palmer. The 2-2 pitch. And out goes Ed Charles. That's the 3rd strikeout in a row now for Mike Cuellar. Going to swing. Struck him out. 4 strikeouts for Cuellar. Ground ball to short. Belanger to Johnson for 1 on the first. Double play. An easy double play. There's a base hit to right. Swoboda's firing to the plate. The throw is off. The throw to third is not in time. Belanger singles to right. Swoboda charged that ball. Looked like he had a good play at the plate, but as you saw, his throw was off. The spot has been so vital for the Orioles all season. The pitcher Mike Cuellar is up. He struck out his first time. The Orioles lead now 2-0. Runners on first and third, 2 down. It's a little looper. Base hit in the left center. In the score is Dave Johnson. Belanger stops at second, and Cuellar helps his own cause. And he doesn't want a warm-up jacket. Belanger's at second, Cuellar's at first, 2 away. 4 Orioles in a row have reached base. 3-0, Baltimore. There's a drive to right field. That's into the corner. Coming in to score is Belanger. Cuellar's going to third, and in the second goes Buford with his speed. A double.
5 in a row have reached now for Baltimore. Paul Blair's up. He's the 8th batter of the inning. We're going to get some action now in the Met bullpen. At the end of 4 innings, it's Baltimore 4 and New York nothing.
A quick out to start the top of the 6th inning, and here's the expression and the feeling right now, pictured on the face of the Mets manager, Gil Hodges. He got the soft curve 3 times for 3 looking strikes.
The Baltimore pitchers have now allowed no runs in 39 consecutive World Series innings. Back in the '66 series, after the opening game, McNally, Palmer, and Bunker pitched consecutive shutouts against the Dodgers, and Cuellar has shut out the Mets here in the first 6 innings of this opening game of the '69 World Series.
Deep left field. Buford, however, is in position. Clendenin trying to come home on the throw, which is way off the third base line. Weiss got a good rip and lined it to fairly deep left field, and Buford's throw was wild and way wide of the plate. So the Mets cut into the Oriole lead, and it's now Baltimore 4 and New York 1.
Orioles. And right after that, we'll go to football. AFL football, and we'll tell you more about it later.
All right, Kurt, 2 strikes to A.G., and he gets him on 3 pitches. 6 strikeouts for Cuellar. He has fanned A.G. twice, once looking and now swinging. Another strikeout, 2 in the inning, 7 for Cuellar. No runs, 1 hit, and a man left in the top of the 8th inning. And so, in the middle of the 8th inning, it's Baltimore 4, New York 1 to Svoboda. Cuellar's going to have to hurry his throw and won't make a throw. Cuellar probably realized that he wasn't handling the ball properly. Also realized he might have had a tight play on Svoboda. So in his haste to get to the ball and throw, he lost it completely. Strike 3 is called. 8 strikeouts for Cuellar. 8 of them. 4 pitches, and the Mets, with 2 out, have 2 on, and that would bring the Mets with a tying run to the plate. Second baseman Johnson goes to first, and that's the ball game. Chansky, batting for the pitcher, has grounded out to end Game 1 of the World Series. Baltimore has been victorious by a score of 4-1. Cuellar had a shaky 7th, a shaky 9th, but pulled out of both jams.
Well, Baltimore did it yesterday with a combination that carried it to an easy American League championship. Strong pitching, sharp defensive plays when they had to have it, and timely hitting. The Mets, of course, hope to split now in the enemy ballpark and then go home with 3 games starting in New York on Tuesday at Shea Stadium. We have 2 left-handers pitching today. One of the bright young stars of the New York Mets, Jerry Koosman, is going to be going. And Jerry, of course, won 17 games this year. He missed nearly a month and still won those 17. He had the 5th lowest earned run average in the National League. Jerry Koosman is going for the New York Mets. A left-hander is going for the Baltimore Orioles. That's Dave McNally. Koosman is 25. McNally is 26. McNally won his first 15 games of the year against no losses. Then went on to post a record of 20 wins and 7 losses. The last time he pitched in a World Series, he shut out the Dodgers 1-0. And just a week ago today, he shut out the Minnesota Twins in 11 innings, winning 1-0, giving up just 3 hits. Those are the pitchers. The weather's great, and that's
The catcher, who was not behind the plate yesterday, this is Andy Etchebarren. And the second game, Baltimore starter, young man from Billings, Montana. This is Dave McNally. He makes his year-round home right now in Baltimore. McNally, whom Kurt commented about during his pregame conversation, standing contribution, and A.G. was included in that list. Out number 1, McNally hangs up his first strikeout. And appearing for the first time in a World Series, the young left-hander is Jerry Koosman. Koosman goes 6'2", 205 pounds, And this is how Koosman fared during the Mets' pennant-winning 1969 season. He won 17 overall, and he lost 9. Koosman, like McNally, leans on fastballs and good breaking stuff for his outfit. And the figuring before game time is that Koosman perhaps has the better fastball than McNally, that perhaps McNally has the better breaking pitch than Koosman. Call back up for good by the big club. 2-2. Got him on the fastball right into his hand. So Koosman, as well as McNally, both picked up strikeouts against leadoff batters. And these are Mets fans and their biggest fans. Their owner, Mrs. Joan Payson, limiting that foursome to only one base hit. 1-0. Deep right center field. Very deep, Adrian Swoboda. And Swoboda right in front of the 390-foot marker. That ball right to the marker. And so at the end of the first inning, the score is Baltimore nothing and New York nothing. And he had an earner average of under a run and a half a game. And he's fan Powell on let-up breaking stuff for his second strikeout. Great strength as a leadoff batter, Holding and Weiss leading. Tough chance for two, and they just managed to get one because of the good range of Belanger. Belanger had to go deep to the hole.
Watch Belanger's range on this. He's a brilliant fielding shortstop. He's a great basketball star at Pittsfield, Massachusetts High School. Look at his agility. Gets that throw away with something on it, right on target. Belanger can range right, left, and he and Brooks Robinson really make it hard to drive the ball through that left side of the infield.
Sort of the power pocket. Runners go. Deep left field. Buford giving it a chase. And Buford almost lost that deep fly ball. He looked like he might have almost overrun the ball.
That ball was really ripped to left field. Don Buford converted into an outfielder from an infielder. He's short. He has to go up for this one. Another foot or two, and the Mets might have had 2 runs in.
And so at the middle of the third inning, the score is New York nothing, Baltimore nothing. All season long. 2 out, no score. Oh, what a magnificent play by Harrelson. Magnificent.
Well, we've seen 2 brilliant plays by these shortstops, Belanger, and now Harrelson comes up with one. Watch his dive for this one. A sensational stab here by Harrelson. Caught that ball about 6 inches off the ground, held onto it even though his impact could have jarred it loose.
And so at the end of the third inning, the score is New York nothing, Baltimore nothing. Clendenin is known as the first ball swinger. One after the fastball. Frank Robinson's got a tough play to the fence in right field, and the Mets have gone ahead 1-0. That's almost in the same spot where Buford hit his home run yesterday for the Orioles. Clendenin with opposite field power just cleared the fence in the right field in front of the auxiliary scoreboard.
Clendenin has really been hitting in this series, yesterday and today. He's now been on base twice today. He had 2 hits yesterday. Look at that follow-through. So far in this game, Bill, the Mets have hit harder shots off McNally than the Orioles have off Koosman. They've hit the ball hard 3 or 4 times right at somebody for outs, but they've stung the ball.
2-2 again. McNally has his 3rd strikeout and his first out in the top of the 4th inning. 1-1. Robinson, tough again, and made it.
Well, it's an odd thing. Brooks Robinson says this is not the hardest play for him. Usually it is for a third baseman. The secret, he says, is to pick the ball up as his left foot. Now watch him and throw off the right foot. There he is, picking it up on the left foot as it strikes, and then throwing as he lifts his right foot up. And he throws overhand. He says his toughest play is backhanding across the body to the line.
And so in the middle of the fourth inning, it's New York 1, Baltimore nothing. On that low breaking stuff from Kuzma. Mets are leading 1-0. Orioles batting in the bottom of the fourth. Al Weiss on a hot shot, one hopper to retire the side at the end of 4 innings of play. It's New York 1, Baltimore nothing. A looking third strike, and McNally has now hung up 4 strikeouts. And McNally working over his opposing pitcher the same way. 2 strikeouts in the inning, 5 strikeouts for McNally. The second time that he's fanned Kuzma. He survived the third inning without a run scored. Fastball is strike 3 looking. He got it right to his letters. McNally fanned the side. And so at the middle of the 5th inning, the score is New York 1, Baltimore nothing.
Usher in Shea Stadium. Told the Mets to look him over. There's a fly ball into the right field corner, deep. That ball is caught by Sloboda. That's twice he's been chased up against fences today. So it's 3 up, 3 down. And at the end of 5 innings here in Baltimore, the score, the New York Mets 1 and Baltimore nothing. The 1-1 pitch. Change up, bounce to short. Bad hop, Harrelson handles it, throws him out. And for the first 6 innings of this game, Jerry Kuzman has pitched a no-hitter. At the end of 6, the score, the New York Mets 1 and the Baltimore Orioles nothing. Fly ball to deep right. Frank Robinson. Back by the wall. Oh, what plays we've had today.
Kurt, Frank had a little bit of trouble with the sun and with the high sky of which is close, but he had the ball in range all the way. And, of course, Frank knows how to play right field. He knew he had room going back against the fence and then just banged a little hard into the fence but kept the ball in the glove all the way.
Powell. Curve. There's the first base hit of the game for the Baltimore Orioles. Kuzman loses his no-hitter. Now the big boys are coming up for the Orioles, Robinson and Powell. That's quite an RBI total. There goes the runner. The throw by Grody. Blair steals second.
Blair with a pretty good jump on Kuzman. Blair had 20 steals just in under the tag and in time.
Now the Orioles have the tying run at second, 2 down. The 1-1 pitch to Brooks Robinson. Base hit. This is going to be a tie game. Coming in the score is Paul Blair, and it's 1-1. What a stop by Ed Charles Forceway. Another brilliant play in the game. Sensational infielding today on the part of both ball clubs.
Here comes now the 4th brilliant play we've had by infielders. Charles got his glove down just in time. He had the glove down, the ball right in the glove, then he had to straighten up and make the strong throw over to first base. Over to second base, rather, for the 4th play.
So the score at the end of 7 innings is tied. New York 1 and Baltimore 1. The umpires in their position behind the catcher. Right. And now look, on a right-handed batter, Lanzer's out. The National League umpire's on the inside of the catcher, toward right, to hit late. So he flies to deep left. Going back is Leon Jones on the warning track for the out. McNally nearly reached the fence with that one. Just fooled everyone. 3 up and 3 down,
At the end of 8 innings, the game is still tied. New York 1 and Baltimore 1. Nobody on, nobody out in the top of the ninth. The game is tied 1-1. Fastball, striking out Clendenin. 7 strikeouts for Dave McNally. Ron Swoboda has fouled out, struck out, and flied out. The 1-2 pitch. Ground ball, Boog Powell off the bag. McNally will cover. 2 down. You know, Powell's an underrated first baseman, isn't he, Bill? Most round smash. 2 down, Ed Charles up. Grounded into the fourth play. Grounded to short and double to left. 2-strike pitch. Bounding ball into left field. Charles has his second hit in a row. Buford throws into Dave Johnson. Now the Mets have 4 hits, the Orioles 2 hits, and Jerry Grody the batter. Fly to center, rolled out to third and popped to short. 2-2 to Jerry Grody. There goes Charles. There's a base hit to left. Charles is coming around to third. The throw goes into second, and the Mets have runners on first and third. So after 2 out, nobody on, successive singles by Charles and Grote. They had Charles running on the pitch, and he got over to third.
Base pitcher Dick Hall and also a utility catcher Clay Dalrymple both played with the Phillies, so they know quite a bit about the Mets.
After Bamberger went back to the Orioles dugout, the sign went out to the Orioles for warm-up action. It's Dick Hall warming up again now. There's a base hit to left, coming in to score Charles, and the Mets take the lead 2-1. 3 hits in a row for the Mets. Al Weiss coming through with a big hit here with 2 down in the top of the ninth. The 2-2 pitch. Slow roller. Belanger charging. Throws him out. But the Mets had 1 run, 3 hits in a row. There were no errors and 2 left. We're going to the last of the ninth inning with a score. New York 2 and Baltimore 1. A left-hander, Taylor a right-hander warming up. 1-1 pitch. Pop-up into right center. Swoboda calling for it. And there's 1 out. That's Charles. Look at him, just a step off the third base line. And Clendenin very close to the line at first. Ground ball to short. Bud Harrelson's throw to Clendenin, 2 down. The Orioles' last chance now is Frank Robinson. A 3-2 pitch. He walked him. The Orioles have the tying run on. Now Al Weiss is going to have a runner for Frank Robinson, who has a bad leg evidently. See him limping as he goes into the dugout. Rube Walker's got out to talk to Kuzman. Don Clendenin's there on the mound. And the danger is Boog Powell's up. Struck out, grounded out, popped up. There goes Rettman. Ball 4. With 2 away. And the batter will be Brooks Robinson. Gil Hodges now, the manager of the Mets, is coming out. Speaking of comebacks, what a comeback he made. We said hello to him on a World Series last year when he was in the hospital with a heart attack. And here he is now managing in a World Series a year later. Where the managers earn their money right now with the decision. Leave him in or take him out. He's going to take him out, and Ron Taylor. Ron Taylor is going to come in to pitch to Brooks Robinson. He should get a tremendous ovation, Kuzman. What a game he pitched here today.
Kurt Koosman came within 1 out of pitching a complete ball game. He was extremely strong through the middle innings when he retired 13 in a row. There's a break in the action right here at Baltimore with a score in the bottom of the 9th inning. The Mets 2 and the Orioles 1. At Kansas City or the Oakland Raiders against the Denver Broncos at Denver. Ron Taylor, who pitched yesterday 2 innings, allowing no hits, no runs of relief. 31 years old. Brooks Robinson came up with 2 down and Paul Blair on second in the 7th and singled him home. After 2 outs, Koosman walked Frank Robinson and Boog Powell. So the Mets are still trying to get this last out. It's always the hardest one. They nearly hit him. Ball 1 to Brooks Robinson. There go the runners. There's a ground ball to Charles. Makes the bag to throw to first. He had ideas to go to third. He would have been late there. He went to first. Clendenin dug it out of the dirt, and the Mets win it 2-1. Charles made a quick mental recovery on that one. What a ball game this was. In the 9th inning, Baltimore, no runs, no hits, no errors. They left 2. The final score, the New York Mets, 2 runs, 6 hits, and no errors. The Baltimore Orioles, 1 run.
And when Tom Seaver surrendered a home run to the Orioles leadoff man Don Buford, things didn't look too good.
He said as he went by, "You guys ain't seen nothing yet." I said, "Well, you know, first inning, first game, you ain't seen nothing yet either."
Harrelson, of course, was right. The next day, with Jerry Koosman firing a no-hitter for 6 innings, the Mets rebounded from their 4-1 loss in Game 1, repeatedly pulling out of the hat the kinds of plays that propelled them to the pennant. The Mets scored a run in the top of the 9th and went on to win their first World Series game ever, 2-1.
And the Mets win it 2-1.
The following NBC sports program is brought to you in living color.
In 1966, as a rookie 20-year-old pitcher, Jim Palmer of Baltimore pitched a shutout in the World Series. And today, this rookie, only for the New York Mets, Gary Gentry, will try to put the Mets ahead of the Orioles in the 3rd game of the 1969 World Series. Hello from New York. I'm Jim Simpson with Sandy Koufax and Mickey Mantle. And gentlemen, let me get this out of the way first. The weather forecaster says we may have rain. Now, down to the subject at hand. They say the amazing Mets, Sandy, a team of destiny.
Well, that's hard to say. I think they have been amazing all season. And what they got a great performance, an amazing performance from Jerry Koosman on Sunday. And anytime you pitch a 2-hitter against a ball club, well, you deserve to win. And it was a great ball game.
Well, you're leaning toward Baltimore. How about Mr. Mantle?
I'm still with Baltimore. I think that McNally pitched a very good game himself. He made one mistake, and it cost him the game.
Well...
NBC Sports presents the 3rd game of the 1969 World Series. The Baltimore Orioles versus the New York Mets from Shea Stadium, New York. Brought to you by Salem Filter Cigarettes. Shea Stadium, New York, a big dark cloud moving overhead, and we have a very excellent chance of some rain here, maybe very shortly. I'm Kurt Gowdy, along with Lindsey Nelson. Tony Kubek will be roaming the stands again with interesting sidelights and interviews. Game 3 of the World Series. And the Mets come home now in their own ballpark, all even up with the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore, of course, winning the first game. The Mets on Sunday 2-1. And today the starting pitchers will be 2 fireballing young right-handers. That's Jim Palmer. Jim Palmer, despite missing 41 days of the season, he's had assorted back and arm injuries the last 2 years, still had the best winning percent in the American League, winning 16 and losing 4. Palmer also was second in the American League with the lowest earned run average. He probably has the best stuff on the Baltimore staff. He can really fire. Here's another young right-hander with real good stuff, Gary Gentry, who was the leading rookie winning pitcher in the major leagues this year. He won 13 and lost 12, and his manager, Gil Hodges, says in another year or two, he'll be right alongside Tom Seaver and Jerry Koosman with the kind of records and the kind of pitchers they are. So those are the starting pitchers. The Mets are going to their left-handed hitting platoon again, with a right-hander going. Baltimore staying the same. And now to tell you more about the pregame dope here and to take you around the ballpark is a very outstanding broadcaster of the New York Mets, your old friend, Lindsey Nelson. Lindsey?
Thank you very much, Kurt Gowdy, and hello again, everybody. It's the most exciting baseball day we've had in New York in years. Actually, it's the first time that a National League club has hosted a World Series game in New York since 1956. And of course, with each team having won one game so far, we're starting all over again. It's the first World Series game ever played in this park. It's the first time the Mets have ever played a World Series game before their hometown fans. Normally, this is a pretty noisy ballpark. The Met fans were famous before the Met team was, but of course, today it's more of a social occasion and a big sports event, so it won't be quite that noisy, but it'll still be exciting. Looking around the ballpark now, it's 341 feet down to the left field corner. There's a yellow line there about halfway up from the ground to the auxiliary scoreboard, which is the home run marker. Anything above that's a home run, anything below that is off that wall, in play, all you can get. And then just to the right is the bullpen, of course, and it goes out to 371 up the power alleys, then to 396 on over into left center, and 410 feet in straightaway center there in front of the batter's eye. It's symmetrical, so it comes on around to 396 again, and on down to 371 up the power alley, 358 in front of the bullpen, and 341 down to the right field foul line, and again the home run marker, the yellow line, halfway up the ground to the auxiliary scoreboard. So that's the situation at Shea Stadium. This ballpark opened in 1964. Of the starting lineup of the Orioles, Frank Robinson is the only ball player who has ever played here for them at Shea Stadium.
Jerry Grody is catching. And 23-year-old Gary Gentry. He was 23 just a few days ago on October 6th. Won 13, lost 12 during the year. An earned run average of 3.42. Leading rookie winner in the major leagues this year. A 1-2 delivery. High breaking pitch or a change of some kind. And Jim Palmer, who'll be 24 years old tomorrow, pitching. 6'3", 190. Grew up in Los Angeles. Then attended high school at Scottsdale, Arizona. He attended Arizona State University and Towson State College. He was born, by the way, in New York and then moved to the West Coast. Tom Agee has been held hitless in 8 times, 67 and 68. Hit the deep center. Blair going back, and that one is gone. A 2-1 pitch. Agee leads off with a homer. 1-0 Mets. Drag a line drive right over the center field fence. Buford led off the opening game with a home run for the Orioles. Nobody on, nobody out. New York ahead, 1-0. On the corner. Garrett caught looking, 1 down. Well, the Mets puts the wood on the ball in the first inning. 2 long flies and a home run. 1 run, 1 hit. There were no errors and nobody left. At the end of the first inning, it's the Mets 1 and Baltimore nothing. Of course, the pitchers have to put the ball back to your nest. But that fella's an interesting boy. That man's name is Earhart. He's a commercial sign artist. And they tell him he brings about 60 signs out. He has a filing system down at the bottom of his feet. And he entertains there with those professional signs during the game.
They had a contest to pick the 25 greatest Met fans this summer. He was one of them.
Oh, no strikes. Base hit to center. Ware up with it. Stopping at second is Grody. Harrelson at first. And Gary Gentry coming in. He hit 081 for the entertainment of our audience. And the Mets are threatening now. Runners on first and second, 2 down. A drive in the right center. It's going to score 2 runs. Gentry's coming to second, and he doubles to knock in 2. Is right. Gentry knocked in only 1 run all year. And he doubles on the first pitch, a very weak hitting pitcher. No wonder they call him the Amazing Met. Curve is beat to Robinson at third. Robinson throws him out and the side's retired. But the Mets came up with 2 runs, 2 hits. There were no errors and 1 left. At the end of 2 innings, it's the New York Mets 3 and Baltimore nothing. Gary Gentry's pitch. A high foul. This may have a shot on this. Kemsky right on the edge of the Met dugout. Or Cranepool, I should say. Cranepool. He won 4 and lost 1 in September. They pop down the line in foul ground, and Harrelson, the shortstop, takes it. Oh, these Mets are really hustling today. 3 up and 3 down. At the end of 2.5 innings, it's the New York Mets 3 and the Baltimore Orioles nothing. Mets ahead 3-0. Last of the third. And a strikeout number 2 for Jim Palmer. Tony Kubek.
Thank you very much, Lou. Listen, Bob Merrill, Tony, this is quite a team, isn't it?
What a team. It reminds me of the old Dodgers. So much excitement in the stadium. And I'm an old friend of Gil and a Brooklyn Sandlot ball player, and I'm thrilled to death. I'm more nervous than I am at the opera.
Bob Merrill, thank you so much. Wish we could talk longer. Let's get back now upstairs in the live action.
Fine, Tony.
Thank you, Bob.
Top of the 4th inning, Paul Blair takes a strike from young Gary Gentry. Both in the same area. Palmer from Scottsdale High School, right outside of Phoenix. And Gentry from a high school in Phoenix. Strike 3. Quick slider, looked like. Second strikeout for Gentry.
Absolutely.
There's a drive to left. It's trapped. It is a base hit. Leon Jones trapped the ball. That's the first hit for the Orioles.
Let's take a look at it again now. Robinson with the drive into left, and Cleon comes up now and decides to try to shoestring it. And it's on the ground, short hopped, and the umpire down the line is Hank Sork. Take a look at this swing now, one of the great swings in baseball, Frank Robinson.
Robinson's on, the first hit for the Orioles. Boog Powell slams it to right field. Robinson is coming to third. Shamsky's throw goes to second. The Orioles have runners on first and third with 1 out. Look at that. Term you've heard since you were a kid, the old high hard one.
The Mets made him an offer. D. Fundy signed him, and he came on to the Mets.
He has now struck out 3, walked 1. The Orioles have runners on first and third, 2 down, and Ellie Hendricks the batter. There's a drive into deep left center. Racing hard is A.G. What a grab! Earl A.G. saves 2 runs.
Tommy A.G. going all the way to the track, looking to backhand stab with the glove, and now he'll have to break himself with the bare hand on the wall. A lot of white showing. Look at that ball.
Boy, he just had that one, Lindsay. Standing ovation for A.G. as he comes in. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, 2 left at the end of 3.5. New York 3 and Baltimore nothing. There it is again. Lindsay, he was way over in right center for him.
He had a long, long run and a difficult angle.
Crowd still buzzing about the catch by Tom A.G. Even though Powell's a slow man, he might have been able to score from first base. There were 2 down, and both men were going on the crack of the bat. Robinson at third. You may have obstruction called here. Obstruction has been called on Boog Powell. Boog Powell obstructed with him. Here comes Earl Weaver out. Going for the ball. Harrelson tried to get around him and went down. And that's Larry Knapp on the right, Earl Weaver, the Baltimore manager.
Well, look at it again. Here's a throw over to first that gets by. And now watch Harrelson and Boog Powell. And Harrelson almost gets by, and then he's flipped by Powell. And the call was made by the plate umpire, Larry Knapp.
We're going to get the scoring. Drug him out. In the 4th for the Mets. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left. At the end of 4 innings at Shea Stadium, it's the New York Mets 3 and the Baltimore Orioles nothing. Ground ball, deep in the hole. The throw, Harrelson throws him out. An excellent play by Bud Harrelson. That's the play the scouts, when they look at shortstop, they say they have to make.
Watch Harrelson now go into the hole and watch him get rid of that ball in a hurry with a lot on it. Makes that move into the hole and knows that he'll have to throw quickly from that deep. Perfect strike to first base. 2 great fielding shortstops in this World Series, Belanger and Harrelson.
The big hand is for Tom A.G., who's made the play of the game. He'll be leading off the last of the 5th inning, and in here to carry the rest of the way with play-by-play is the Met broadcaster and telecaster, Mr. Lindsey Nelson.
Thank you very much, Kurt Gowdy, and hello again, everybody. Tommy A.G., who was the Rookie of the Year in the American League with the Chicago White Sox in 1966. Had 14 home runs here at Shea Stadium to lead the Mets in that department this year. He had 26 overall. Breaking pitch struck him out. That was the 4th strikeout for Gary Gentry. 7 home runs. He has a base hit to right. Robinson will go to third. He's on the way. Shamsky's throw goes to second base. And Boog Powell is on with his second base hit.
One of the few bad pitches Gentry's thrown. He hung that curveball up over the plate for him, that high curve.
So now there are runners at first and third with 2 men out, and Brooks Robinson will be tying run at the plate, so that gets Grody out there for a word. 3-1 pitch. And it's popped up down the right field line. It'll be a tough chance for anybody to get to, but Shamsky's there. And he makes the catch. So it is no runs 1 hit, a walk, no errors, and 2 men left. And in the middle of the 6th inning, the score is the Mets 3 and the Baltimore Orioles nothing.
Then an AFL doubleheader beginning at 1:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Last of the 6th inning, Lindsay.
The pennants and the banners are a trademark of Shea Stadium as Ken Boswell comes up. It's a ground ball wide of Powell, and it is taken at second by Johnson, who throws on to Palmer, who's off the bag at first. He's safe. What a play by Dave Johnson.
Powell off the bag. Look at this stab by Johnson, a spectacular play. His throw is there, but watch Palmer now. His foot is not on the bag. Palmer coming, has to go up for the throw, pulls his foot off the bag. Safe is Boswell.
Well, there are parts of a Met banner that are floating down from one of the upper decks. I guess it's a kite. Thought it was a banner. It's a kite.
It's a kite that was carrying a Met sign. The sign is fluttered on the ground.
Such happenings are not unusual at Shea Stadium. Here, Grody was the National League's all-star catcher. A native of San Antonio, Texas. Grody goes to second with a double and a run batted in. The Mets are leading 4-0.
That was a lazy curve that Palmer hung over the plate, and Grody timed it perfectly.
Struck him out, so that is strikeout number 5 for Palmer, and the side is retired. In the bottom of the 6th, 1 run on 2 hits, no errors, and 1 left. At the end of 6 full innings of play, the score is the Mets 4 and the Orioles nothing.
Lindsey Nelson with me down here, a great Mets fan and also the governor of the state of New York, Nelson Rockefeller. This is quite a ball team, sir.
Tommy, this is the greatest. Never seen anything like it, and it's just wonderful to welcome everybody here to the Shea Stadium.
They're sure making some great plays behind Gentry.
Well, Gentry, not only is pitching, but when he knocked in that double, fantastic. And as for A.G., that first home run in the first inning, I want to say this is the most exciting game, and this is just pulling New York City and New York State together, solid behind the Mets.
Governor Nelson Rockefeller, thank you so much. Let's go on back upstairs.
The World Series in New York. Center field, and A.G. goes back, and he slips and regains his balance to make the catch. Took a divot. And like all good outfielders, he replaces divots. Gentry has struck out 4, walked 2. And this is a payoff pitch. Walked him. 3rd walk issued by Gentry. So, Hunter goes, and he walked him. 4th walk issued by Gentry. 2nd consecutive base on balls. Gives the Orioles runners at first and second, 2 men out, and Don Buford coming up. Hold it. He was looking out toward the bullpen. 3-1. Walked him. The bases are loaded. The 5th walk issued by Gentry. Here comes Hodges. They're loaded with 2 men out. The sign has gone to the bullpen. That's going to be all for Gentry. I would imagine he'll get some kind of a hand when he leaves the mound here. Nolan Ryan, Chuck McGraw, and McGraw is saying to Ryan, he wants you. The bases are loaded. 2 men are out. It's the tying run at the plate. Paul Blair is there. He's flied to center, struck out, and popped to short. Nolan Ryan in to do the pitching. Got 231 batters. Count is 0-2. And it is a fly ball. It'll be tough to get to. A.G. is going, and A.G. takes a diving catch. He's out.
This man has possibly saved 5 runs in this game. Watch it in slow motion. The wind is blowing out now. Agee twice has clutched this ball in the webbing of his glove. Once against Hendricks with 2 on and 2 out. This time with the bases loaded and 2 out. A skidding score and another standing ovation for him when he came in.
In the middle of the 7th, it is the Mets 4 and the Orioles nothing. The ovation is for Tommy Agee. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network. This is Lindsey Nelson with Kurt Gowdy at Shea Stadium.
Lindsey, it happens so many times. How many times when that man makes the great play in the field, he comes in to lead off?
Happened very appropriately here, and they really gave him an ovation. Agee. Mets are batting in the bottom of the 7th, leading 4-0. And Agee draws a walk. You'll notice he has a lot of the physical mannerisms of Willie Mays, and it's not by accident. There was a walk and 1 left, and at the end of 7 full innings of play, the score is the Mets 4 and the Orioles nothing. Payoff pitch. Deep left field, and it is Cleon Jones at the wall, and Agee makes the catch. Agee and Jones both there, and Agee took the fly ball at the wall. One away, and Boog Powell is coming up. He's out of there on strikes. Nolan Ryan's first strikeout. 2 Orioles away in the 8th. The Mets are leading 4-0, and the Orioles are batting in the top of the 8th. Payoff pitch. Striking out with a fastball. Second strikeout for Ryan. Retired the side in order. No runs, no hits, no errors, none left. In the middle of the 8th inning, the score is the Mets 4 and the Orioles nothing. Poole was signed for a reported $85,000 right out of high school. Deep center field, and Blair goes back. It is going, and it is gone for a home run for Ed Crane Poole. Crane Poole with a World Series home run that puts the Mets out in front 5-0. Payoff pitch, struck him out. Leonard gets his first strikeout. The Mets are out. 1 run on 1 hit, no errors and none left at the end of 8 full innings of play. The score is the Mets 5 and the Orioles nothing. He walked him, and Clay Dalrymple will be coming up now. Clay Dalrymple will bat for Dave Leonard. Ground ball to second. Smothered by Weiss, but too late. He's safe at second. And on at first is Clay Dalrymple.
Al Weiss, with outstanding range, has to dive for this one. And with that ball smothered in the ground, trouble coming up with it. At first base, a good jump there by Belanger to go in ahead, and the Orioles are still alive.
That's down the line and left. If it stays fair, it'll be extra bases, and it's a foul ball. A long foul ball to the left field corner, off the bat of Don Buford. Off half of the 9th inning. Walked him, and the bases are loaded. The Orioles They've loaded him up off Ryan. With 2 men out, Paul Blair will be the batter, and Gil Hodges comes to the mound. And Ryan stays in the ball game. This will be a 2-strike delivery. Pitch, struck him out with the curveball, and the New York Mets win the ball game. Gary Gentry gets the win, and the Mets go up 2-1 over the Orioles. Yogi Berra there. Jerry Grody waiting for Tommy Agee to go into the dugout with him. That's Clendenin waiting for Agee. It was Agee's day. So the final score was the New York Mets, 5 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Baltimore, no runs, 3 hits, 1 error.
New York, I'm Jim Simpson with Sandy Koufax and Mickey Mantle. And gentlemen, I don't know whether to sit here and smile or just break down and cry. As experts, you've done a whale of a job. Baltimore, you said on Sunday. Baltimore, you said yesterday. And here are the Mets leading 2-1.
I think they bought us these red jackets to kind of cover up our red faces.
I don't think it's doing too good a job myself.
Well,
Sandy, what's going on?
I hope the weatherman's a lot righter about these ball games than we've been. I don't think Baltimore could have 2 worse enemies than us 2 for picking them.
The experts now say, so let's cover ourselves. The experts now say the Mets will win, but they weren't saying it before. The series, I mean.
Well, I'm sort of glad that I picked the Mets for yesterday. That way I don't feel like I'm a front runner if I say it today.
Well, we could spend a lot of time apologizing, but let's forget it. Let's be the experts again today and talk about yesterday and talk about what's coming.
Once again, off the Flushing subway, from the highways, and nearby LaGuardia Airport. Crowds streaming in to Met Stadium. This is the coolest day of the 4 games we've had for the World Series. The temperature in New York right now is 67. But it's a brilliant, sunshiny day, and everybody's set now to see if the Mets are going to take a commanding lead or if the Orioles are going to come back and square the World Series at 2 games apiece. Well, so far, the Mets lead on almost unbelievable fielding, but they've been a sound defensive team all year, and it's a question of whether you think the Orioles are in a team batting slump or the Met pitchers have been overpowering. The Orioles now have scored only 1 run in the last 2 games and have been held to just 12 hits in the 3 games. The pitchers for the Orioles will be Mike Cuellar, who won the opening game of the series, a 23-game winner during the year. He's coming back with 3 days rest, but this was his regular schedule during the season. He doesn't need 4 days. Going for the Mets will be the winningest pitcher in the major leagues, Tom Seaver, who won 25, but who has been ineffective in his last 2 starts against Atlanta in the National League Championship Series, and in the first game he was a loser against the Baltimore Orioles.
Now Seaver runs out to the mound. Baseball's winningest pitcher this year, the winningest pitcher in the major leagues with 25 victories. He was the losing pitcher in the opening game last Saturday. He has been disappointing his last 2 times out, both in the championship series against the Atlanta Braves, in which he did get the victory, and against the Baltimore Orioles, a game in which he took the loss. He was 20. Ellie, I do work extremely close. Don't let it worry you, because with runners on base, I'll move back a little, but he gets right up there. Swing and a miss. Seaver gets a strikeout.
Batting in the second position.
This will be a 2-2 pitch to Powell. And it's in there for a call, strike 3. He struck him out. 2 strikeouts for Seaver in the inning. The side is retired with no runs, a hit, no errors, and 1 left. In the middle of the first inning, the score is Baltimore 0 and the Mets coming to bat. And the pitcher is Mike Cuellar. He is 32 years of age. He was the winningest left-hander in the major leagues this year with 23 victories. He was the winning pitcher for the Orioles last Saturday over the Mets when the score was 4-1. Won 23, lost 11. The earned run average 2.38. Born in Santa Clara, Cuba on June 20th. Ground ball is short. Belanja to Johnson for 1. The throw on and a double play. 6-4-3 if you're scoring, and the side is retired with no runs, a hit, no errors, and none left. And at the end of an inning, the score is Baltimore nothing, the Mets nothing. News presents A Day in October. What does it mean? A 90-minute program evaluating today's Vietnam moratorium. Frank McGee, John Chancellor, and Ed Newman will join other NBC correspondents. Runner goes, and the pitch is high. Grody's throw to Harrelson, and he's out at second base.
This is Johnson going. He's going against a strong arm in Jerry Grote. It was a high throw, but had enough on it. Harrelson down there, and let the runner tag himself out.
The coaches now, Eddie Yost at third for the Mets, and Yogi Berra on the lines at first. And Don Clendenin is up to lead off, facing screwballer Mike Cuellar. Swinging a foul ball off and out of play. Clendenin was the only Met to get 2 hits off Cuellar in the first game. He had a double and a single and struck out twice and 4 times at bat. This will be a payoff pitch from Cuellar to Clendenin. He's out of here for a home run for Don Clendenin. His second home run of this World Series pushed the Mets to a 1-0 lead.
Watch, this is either a screwball or a breaking pitch. It didn't act up. Right out over the plate for him. Clendenin, full power behind it. And lashed that one right out.
Now against the winningest right-hander in the majors this year. Cuellar against Seaver. In there for a call, strike 3. Caught him looking. First strikeout for Cuellar. The Mets are out in the second. 1 run on 1 hit, no errors, and none left at the end of 2 full innings of play. The score is the Mets 1 and Baltimore nothing. Let's go down to Tony Kubek.
With me down here, a man who has given 50 years of his life to baseball, the president of the National League, Mr. Warren Giles. Mr. Giles, everybody's starting to believe the Mets.
Oh, I believe in them. I tell you, they have what they call going for them, something, a togetherness or something, cohesion, whatever it is. It's great. It's just wonderful for baseball that a New York team, the Cinderella team, really can do this thing and get into this World's Classic. See, I'm kind of proud of this cap. I'm going to put that
second in the second inning. So it's Belange's first time up. Tom Seaver with the pitch. Changes speed, gets it in there for a call strike. Breaking pitch, it's 1-1. And now Shag Crawford has turned and pointed the finger. And Crawford moves on over toward the dugout. And that's Earl Weaver, the manager of the Baltimore Orioles, coming out now. Shag Crawford calling balls and strikes here today. And Weaver's just behind him as he moves back, and he's out of the ball game. Earl Weaver has been thrown out of this World Series. Their gesture is repeated. Well, it's a little unusual for a manager to be thrown out of a World Series, because usually the commissioner explains to them before the start that this is a little something special. It's a big event, but apparently whatever he said got Crawford's immediate attention.
During the season, they're not supposed to protest on balls and strikes. But they say, you know, unless something really unusual happens, leave the ball players in there, the managers. This is then it looks like Weaver's out.
Hey, he bluffed it and punched it into left field for a base hit. Moving on to second is Belanger, and Cuellar is on at first with a single to left. Bluffed the butt, and then punched it to left field. Hammered on the ground to Clendenin. What a play. The force at second and no throwback. Moving on to third is Belanger as they get the middleman Cuellar. That ball came within a millimeter of being bounced over the head of Clendenin at first base. He was way in on the edge of the grass. So now runners at first and third, one man out, and Paul Blair coming up. Ball is bunted up into the air, and Seaver lets it drop. Now goes to first, and now they have a shot, but no throw at second. Seaver purposely let the ball drop to see if he had a possible shot at a double play. Decided he'd better hustle it over to first, and then no throw was made to second on Buford. 2 men out, runners at second and third. 2-1 delivery. And it's popped up, foul to the right side, and playable to Don Clendenin. Side is out. It is no run. 2 hits, no errors, and 2 left. And in the middle of the third inning, the score is the Mets 1 and the Orioles nothing. Line drive into left center. It's in for a base hit. Buford comes over, gets the 1 hop, wheels it to third, and Weiss holds it second. So Agee's on it first. He ripped that one into left field.
Watch him go after this low pitch now. Cocks that leg a little. Golfing the low pitch.
Ground ball. Johnson comes up with it. Makes the play to Boog Powell just in time to get Harrelson. Runners moving up.
Powell was pulled off the bag and trying to field that ball, and he just found his way back there.
Ground ball, and it's taken by Robinson, and the play to Powell in time. The magic glove came up with that one, and the side is retired. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, and 2 men left. The end of 3 full innings of play. The score is the Mets 1, the Orioles nothing. 2-1 delivery. Swung on, hammered on the ground, and it is Clendenin to Seaver for the put-up. On Clendenin, ranging wide to make the play. No runs, no hits, no errors, none left. And in the middle of the 4th inning, the score is the Mets 1 and the Orioles nothing. That's on the outside corner, a called strike 3. Struck him out with the scourge. Here's Seaver now. Watch him as the play is made there.
Run.
He gets Spike right there, right there. The left foot, as you saw. And he is hit by the pitch ball. Charles hit by the pitch ball.
Tried to get out of the way with that fastball. Rode right out into him. And Charles now, looks like he was hit on finger. Don Buford, Paul Blair, and Frank Robinson. Blair starts. Powell hits a high fly in the left center. Agee's calling for the ball, and the Orioles are gone in the 6th. No runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left. At the end of 5 1/2, New York 1 and Baltimore nothing. Hit hard to short. Belanger finally gets the handle and over to first. The Mets are down 1-2-3. These 2 Mets are leading 1-0 in the top of the 7th. Blew it right by him. An overpowering inning for Tom Seaver. At the end of 6 1/2 innings, it's New York 1 and Baltimore nothing. There he goes. Hit the short. Belanger over to Powell. The Mets are retired to the last of the 7th. No runs, 1 hit. There were no errors and 1 left. At the end of 7 innings here in New York, it's the Mets 1 and the Orioles nothing. Pops it up. Hit the curveball. 1 down. The Orioles have not had a hit since Cuellar singled in the 3rd. Dave May hit .242 this year. There's Eddie, let's see, that's on the Mets side.
Don Cardwell.
Don Cardwell, the veteran right-hander. Charlie Grimm of the Cubs was ejected from a World Series game, the manager of the Cubs. Seaver's getting tougher and tougher as this game goes along. The only other time it's ever happened. Earl Weaver was kicked 8 earned runs in those last 8 games. Popped up. Third baseman Ed Charles there. And it's another 1-2-3 inning for Seaver. At the end of 7 1/2 innings, it's the Mets 1 and the Orioles nothing. Okay, Tony, and Eddie Watt, 27 years old, is now on. He led the Baltimore staff in most appearances this year with 56. His record was 5 wins, 2 losses. He had 16 saves and a low earned run average of 1.65. Al Weiss, 2 for 2. And as Seaver comes up, watch the crowd respond here at Shea Stadium.
Well, that's the sort of thing that happens all year long here at Shea, where the fans became famous before the team did. Kurt, they believe in lavishing praise on their very own, and Seaver's been their very special pet.
Sweep by the Orioles and the Mets in the playoffs, and now the World Series. So it's a 1-2-3 inning for Eddie Watt. And at the end of 8 innings at Shea Stadium, it's the Mets 1 and the Orioles nothing. The Orioles' last chance, the 9th inning. Paul Blair, Frank Robinson, and Boog Powell. Let's give a little tip of the hat today, Lindsay, to Mike Cuellar, who pitched 7 innings, 7 hits, 1 run, the home run by Clendenin. Didn't walk a batter and struck out 4.
Great performance.
Being played straight away and fairly deep. There's a fly ball to right field. Ron Swoboda is waiting for it. 1 out. That's Nancy Seaver.
She gets a little emotionally involved in these things, Kurt, and she always sits in that seat when Tom is pitching.
His prime. The 2-2 delivery. Base hit to left field by Frank Robinson. Fumbled momentarily. Robinson is holding, though. So the Orioles have the tying run on now in the top of the 9th. And Boog Powell, the batter. There's the first hit for the Orioles since the 3rd. He can hit the power to left center also. Change-up. Bounding ball into right field. Robinson will come to 3rd. Here's the throw by Swoboda, cut off by the shortstop, Harrelson, and the Orioles have the tying run at 3rd now. The lead run at 1st with 1 away. They finally got a ball over Clendenin's head. Gil Hodges, never showing much emotion. Finally he's excited and gets up.
That's Jerry Koosman there just beside him. Will be starting tomorrow. Here comes Gil.
And Taylor in the bullpen. Leaving him in. There's Taylor, the right-hander, McGraw, the left-hander. One down. Fly ball could tie it up for the Orioles. Nancy Seaver. Robinson has not had the ball out of the infield. Grounded to short, fouled out, grounded to 3rd. Straight away for him in the outfield. And there's a drive to right center. Swoboda comes up with it to target 3rd. Here comes Frank Robinson. The game is tied. Ron Swoboda making another sensational catch for the Mets. Frank Robinson, the old veteran, they're going to appeal at 3rd that Robinson left too quickly. But Frank Robinson, here's a grab. Look at that, Lindsay.
Beautiful catch by Ron Swoboda. And now the Mets are going to pull the appeal play at 3rd. The call is safe.
Frank Robinson, a very, very smart ball player all his career. Played that one perfectly. He waited there at 3rd. That ball hit hard. Left as soon as Swoboda touched it. If Swoboda had missed that ball, the Orioles would have gone ahead. It would have rolled to the fence. And Boog Powell, although not a fast man, probably could have scored from 1st. The 3-2 pitch. Runner going. A drive out into right field. Swoboda's over there and flags it down. 1 run for the Orioles. 2 hits, no errors, 1 left. At the end of 8 1/2, the game is now tied 1-1. Bud Harrelson, Cleon Jones, and Don Clendenin will be up. The 2-2 delivery. A little bounding ball by the pitcher, charged by Johnson. Snaps. He has him at first base. Davy Johnson, second baseman, charging that one.
Left fielder, Cleon Jones.
1 out. And Cleon Jones up. 2-1 pitch. Ground ball into left field, and the Mets now have the winning run at first. Buford's back into Davy Johnson. Struck him out on 3 pitches. Had him going for a bad ball that time. 2 down. Roboto get a hand for that diving catch. Grounded to short and had 2 hits.
Number 4.
Curve is hit in the air to right field. Frank Robinson coming. Can't get it. Over to third is Jones. The throw comes into Powell. Runners on first and third. Roboto has his 3rd hit in a row. As he looped it into shallow right. Art Shamsky now is coming out to bat for Ed Charles. And a little seat squirm in time right here at Shea Stadium. Swings and bounds it out to Dave Johnson, and we're going to extra innings. Shamsky grounds out on the first pitch. No runs for the Mets. 2 hits. There were no errors. And 2 men left. At the end of 9, it's Baltimore 1 and New York 1.
Thank you very much, Craig Gowdy. And hello again, everybody. Dave Johnson coming up. Wayne Garrett is now playing third base for the New York Mets. Ed Charles having been removed for the pinch hitter. Seaver's still on the mound, and here's the pitch. In there for a called strike. Has been in here all the way. He struck out 5 and walked 2. Breaking pitch hit to Garrett and on through him and off toward the rolled up cylinder. Backed up by Harrelson to hold him to 1 base. So Johnson leads off here in the top half of the 10th inning.
Belanger, number 7.
And is on at first. It'll be Belanger coming up now, the number 8 man in the order. We're in extra innings here at Shea Stadium in New York. 4th game of the World Series. Bunted up into the air. Who can play it? Cody can in foul territory. So Belanger has bunted out, and now Watt is going back to the dugout, and I think we'll get somebody to bat for Eddie Watt. Clay Dalrymple has come out with a bat. Clay Dalrymple, who is a left-hand batter, a catcher by trade, formerly with the Philadelphia Phillies. And out. Line in the center field for a base hit for the Orioles. A.G. one-hops the ball. Johnson holds it second. A.G. returns it. Dalrymple's on there. Runners at first and second. 1 man out, and Don Buford coming up. Score tied 1-1. The Orioles are batting in the top half of the 10th inning. And here comes pitching coach Rube Walker to the mound for a word with Seaver. The bullpen is busy. Ron Taylor and Tug McGraw, right-hander and left-hander, in double barrel action in the Met bullpen. There they are. Seaver stays in the ball game. And it's a high fly ball to deep right field. Swoboda's back in the warning track, has it lined up. Johnson tags at second, moves across. Throw goes to second. Runners at first and third now with 2 away.
Center fielder, Paul.
That will bring up Paul Blair.
Number 6.
Had a base hit. Tried to bunt his way on and was thrown out at first. Walked and flied out to right field. 1-2 delivery. Breaking pitch struck him out. So we'll be going to the bottom of the 10th. Strikeout number 6 for Seaver. No run, runs, 2 hits, no errors, 2 left. In the middle of the 10th inning, the score is the New York Mets 1, the Baltimore Orioles 1. During the regular season, he was in 39 games, won 5, lost 2, had an earned run average of 1.92, and he was credited with 6 saves. Has great control. He was struck out looking, struck out swinging, and grounded out. 0 for 3 for the day. Bottom half of the 10th inning, before a crowd of more than 57,000 at Shea Stadium in New York. Game number 4 of the 1969 World Series. The Mets leading 2 games to 1 coming into today's game. Now,
A mathematician.
This will be a payoff pitch. Popped up into short left field, and Buford couldn't see it. He lost it in the sun momentarily. Belanger can't handle it. Play at second base, and he is safe at second. Larry Grote in at second base. Don Buford momentarily lost it in the sun. Got a late start.
I think Buford lost this ball as it came off the bat. He's deep out there. Look how far Belanger's going out. Now, here comes Buford breaking. If Belanger had caught this one, it would have been about as deep as you've ever seen a shortstop go out for a pop-up. Here's a throw in. Grote's in there. The Mets have the winning run. Now at second base, and we're going to have a pinch runner.
Rod Gasper coming in to run for Grote. As the Mets make a bid to win it here in the bottom half of the 10th inning, it is Gasper running for Grote. Nobody out, and Al Weiss is coming up. Now he's the number 8 man in the order. First base is open, nobody out, and pitcher Tom Seaver scheduled up next. So let's see what kind of a move that the Orioles make. The acting manager is Billy Hunter. In the 3rd inning, manager Earl Weaver was ejected by umpire Shag Crawford. They're going to put him on this time. Weiss is being intentionally walked. Pete Rickard and Jim Harden throwing in the bullpen for the Baltimore Orioles. They're going to put Weiss on and see if Gil Hodges makes a move here. Gil might very well leave Seaver in there and let him go to the sacrifice. Or he might go to the pinch hitter. He has Tug McGraw throwing in the bullpen. We'll know in just a moment. That was a lob throw down to second in an attempt to get Gaspar wandering off the bag. So the intentional walk is accomplished. Seaver goes back to the dugout. Gil Hodges standing alongside Rube Walker. It's going to be a pinch hitter coming up, and it's J.C. Martin. He is a left-hand batter who in the championship series in Atlanta delivered a pinch base hit that drove in 2 runs. Now here comes George Bamberger to the mound. The guess is that the Orioles will go to their left-hander, Pete Rickard.
Your attention, please.
Bamberger's still there. And now Bamberger turns and starts back toward the dugout. Now it throws back to the mound. Now the sign is going to the bullpen from the umpire down the left field line, Frank Sikora, and it's Pete Rickard coming in to do the pitching. Hey, Tony, it is Pete Rickard now, the left-hander, who is coming here to work to J.C. Martin. Rickard won 7, lost 4, earned an average of 2.21 in the regular season. So all the drama of World Series play, and this has been a dramatic World Series, has come down to this here in the bottom half of the 10th inning in this 4th game. As J.C. Martin comes up here now, he batted .209 during the regular season, and he had 3 home runs. He still remembers him. Runners at first and second, nobody out. Tommy Agee on deck. He squares to bunt. Bunts the ball, a good one. It's taken now by Rickard, throws to first, and it hit him in the back. Here comes the winning run. The ball is in play. The Mets win the ball game. The Mets win the ball game by a score of 2-1 as the throw hit Martin in the back. It was in play off in short right field, and pinch runner Gaspar scored from second, and the New York Mets won it in the bottom half of the 10th inning. Nancy Seaver getting congratulations all around. Her husband Tom gets credit for the victory. J.C. Martin in the midst of that laying down what he intended to be a sacrifice bunt. Nancy is a happy, happy girl as Tom Seaver has his first World Series victory ever. The New York Mets have gone ahead of the Baltimore Orioles in World Series play 3 games to 1. What a finish, Kurt.
It really was, and you nearly saw the catcher Hendricks and the pitcher Rickard both going for the ball. Rickard finally picked it up. He fired at Dave Johnson. Watch this now. Watch this. I don't know where you can see the velocity in this throw. A very tough throw to handle. Fired in hard to Davy Johnson. And the ball caroms away from his glove and is rolling out now toward the right side of the infield. And then scampering across the plate here comes Rod Gasper with a winning run. And the Mets have done it again. A sensational catch by Swoboda saved them in the top of the ninth. The Orioles had battled back to tie it. Swoboda made a diving grab off the bat of Brooks Robinson that could have gone through to the wall and scored 2 runs. That's been scored as an error by Pete Rickert, by the way. And so the Mets win it 2-1 and now have a commanding 3-1 lead. Right now, let's quickly go down to Tony Kubek.
With me on the field, today's winning pitcher in a heck of a ball game, Tom Seaver. This must be the most exciting moment in your life.
It is. It has to be, Tony. It's the greatest. I've wanted this for I don't know how long. I guess maybe 9 years old, but this is the most beautiful ball club I've ever seen. They're just fabulous. It's a pleasure to play with them. It really is.
Tom, I talked to your wife before the ball game, and she was so darn nervous, and she said, I know Tom is, and I'm right out there with him. She's a great gal.
I think she gets more nervous than I do. She's a great bit of encouragement for me.
You pitched a good ball game, and it looked like you got stronger about the 6th inning.
I did. I got a kind of a second win and made a couple of bad pitches in the 9th inning, gave up a run, but this club just never stops fighting.
You think we're going back to Baltimore?
I don't want to, Tony. I hope not.
Tom Seaver, thank you so much. Congratulations on your first series victory. Hope there'll be many more.
There's some more, too. Thanks,
Thank
Tony.
you so much. Let's go on back upstairs.
So the winning pitcher in this game is Seaver. The losing pitcher is Dick Hall. Brody doubled. He was replaced by Gasper, the pinch runner, who came in to score the winning run. It was 2 runs, 10 hits, 1 error for the Mets in 10 innings. Baltimore 1 run, 6 hits, 1 error. Thanks to Al.
Fax and Mickey Mantle. Mickey, I'll let you think of something first. Sandy, you were right. You said Seaver would pitch a gem, and he did.
Well, Jim, he just, I thought, looked great all through the ball game. He started off a little slower than he finished. From about the 4th inning on, he had great stuff and great control. I think he got a little tired in the 9th, but all in all, I think it was just a great ball game.
3-1, Mickey. You're sitting there with Baltimore and Buford, as I recall.
Well, I'm not laughing anymore. I don't know about the Orioles, but I'm getting a little mad. I think that everything that could happen has happened for the Mets. They've just done great, and I don't even know what to look for when I go back out there anymore.
Well, everybody is talking about, believe it or not the great catches of Swoboda and Jones or the hitting, but rather of the final play when Martin bunted the ball, Rickert came over, picked it up, and threw. Now, according to this morning's papers, we didn't hear it yesterday at the ballpark, some are saying that J.C. Martin was out of the baseline and should have been declared out. Do you think so, Sandy?
Well, first of all, I got to say Martin made a fine bunt. I think you can see here that he is inside in fair territory as he's going down the first baseline. There is that double white line about 45 feet from first base. It runs halfway down. The base runner is supposed to be in that. If he's not, the umpire can declare him out. I just didn't see it yesterday. I don't know if anybody saw it yesterday. I just know that I'd hate to be the umpire that had to make that decision yesterday at Shea.
Mickey, did it ever occur to you that he was out of the baseline?
I wasn't watching the runner quite so much. The left-handed pitcher is the one that come in and fielded the ball. And really, Ellie Hendricks, the catcher, is a right-handed player. He's running toward first base and toward the mound. He wouldn't have had to throw the ball quite so close to the base runner. But in a World Series like this, you know, and you got the winning run on third base anyway, you don't really have enough time to get together that soon.
Well, the controversial and amazing World Series continues, and we'll discuss more of it in a moment as we'll return with more of World Series Report.
NBC Sports presents the 5th game of the 1969 World Series. The Baltimore Orioles versus the New York Mets from Shea Stadium in New York. And we have another bright sunny afternoon, but it's cooler today than yesterday. The temperature is 61 degrees. And a strong wind right now is circulating around Shea Stadium. It's blowing in from first base toward third. Hi, everybody. I'm Kurt Gowdy. This is Lindsey Nelson, and Tony Kubek is roaming the stands, as we'll give you today's coverage. And, of course, rhubarb swirled late into the night last night and right up here until game time today. First, about the ejection of the manager of the Baltimore Orioles, Earl Weaver. The home plate umpire, Shag Crawford, explained it. An automatic expulsion for Weaver protesting a ball and strike. And then on J.C. Martin's bunt, running to first base, he was struck on the left wrist. Pictures last night showed that he was running inside the foul line in fair territory. We're going to rerun the play for you and show you the outcome of that play. And Lindsey will explain the statement here made at 12:30 Eastern Time by the home plate umpire Crawford and the commissioner of baseball about the outcome of that decision. The pitchers today, Dave McNally has the job now of trying to send this series back to Baltimore and is Baltimore's last hope. McNally lost on Sunday 2-1 to Jerry Koosman, the left-hander from Billings, Montana, who lives now in Baltimore, going all the way. For the Mets, Jerry Koosman, who pitched a brilliant two-hitter against Baltimore Sunday, was finally relieved in the ninth inning. He's coming back for the Mets today. And we were talking to Brooks Robinson before the game, and he said so far the Met pitchers have been the toughest set of pitchers on one staff that he or his teammates have ever hit against.
Now, there was a still picture that was being circulated at press headquarters last night that showed Martin to be in fair territory. And the rule states, of course, that if he is hit in fair territory, that is interference, and he should have been called out. Earl Weaver says he didn't see the picture till he got back to the hotel and wishes that he had never seen it. The commissioner made a statement saying that it is not an appeal play, that it is simply a judgment call. Shag Crawford says that he thought that at the moment that the ball hit J.C. Martin, Martin's right foot was on the foul line, which would make him in proper position. Those are the statements made at 12:30 by Crawford and the commissioner. Now let's go downstairs to Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Lindsey. With me in the commissioner's box, Joe DiMaggio and the commissioner of baseball, Bowie Kuhn. Mr. Commissioner, you had a tough statement to make this morning about the controversial play late in the ball game yesterday. Would you like to make it again?
Well, it wasn't too tough as far as I was concerned, Tony. I talked to the umpire, Shag Crawford, on the throw by Rickett to first base. And it was his judgment that the ball player going down the line, Martin, was permissibly within the running lane. And I've accepted his judgment. That is the end of it.
Joe D., you've seen such great fielding plays so far in this World Series, down in Baltimore and up here in New York, Shea Stadium. You, of course, were part of that famous Al Gianfrido catch. You hit the ball. Are these toppers?
Oh, yes, I do recall that when I hit in Gianfrido catch, but I'd have to say two of the catches I saw here the day before yesterday and yesterday's catch were about as fine as catches you want to see in World Series play, particularly the one Swoboda made yesterday, because that was the ball game. I didn't think he had a chance for that ball.
Well, you know, it's a play where an outfielder doesn't even have a chance to think on it. He can make his move now or he doesn't do it at all.
Well, that is true. He had to dive because there's no way he backing up to catch it on the hop. It got by him any way he played it.
Joe D., thank you so much. Mr. Commissioner, thank you so much.
All right, Tony.
Now let's go on back upstairs.
And Jerry Koosman, who warmed up down in the bullpen under the watchful eye of Met pitching coach Rube Walker, has not yet made an appearance. There is Koosman toweling off before getting ready to come out onto the mound. Earlier this year, he had some shoulder difficulty, but once he got that straightened out, he had a great second half and has won victory, that coming last Sunday in World Series competition. So it is Jerry Koosman out now to take his warm-up pitches. I was talking to him just before the ball game about where his home was actually located.
Dugout. There's a fly to right. Here's Swoboda. And the Orioles are down 1-2-3 in the first inning. Into the first half inning. The Orioles nothing, with the Mets coming to bat. Frank Robinson's in right. Etchebarren's catching, and the first batter is Tom Agee for the Mets. Ball one delivered by Dave McNally. Agee has 2 hits in ball 4. Baltimore already has action in their bullpen. Dave Leonard is warming up.
Right fielder.
Right-hander.
Number 4, Ron.
Ron Swoboda, the batter. 2-2 pitch. Struck him out with a good fastball. He struck out 2 and he walked 2 in that first inning. No runs for the Mets, no hits, there were no errors, and 2 men left. At the end of the first inning, it's Baltimore nothing and New York nothing. They have a banner day here every year, don't they, Lindsay?
It's a fantastic sight to see. It's a promotion that's been copied in other major league ballparks, and this year there were more than 3,000 entries. And they open the center field gates and they march in and around the ballpark.
Loops it into right field on a curveball. Why Belanger improved his average so much. Look out. He just got back, and they're trying to push him off there. That's the catcher, Jerry Grody, down there. Right fielder Swoboda made a quick throw, hoping to get Belanger making the turn.
Look at this again now. Swoboda up with it, and Grody followed the runner up to cover the bag. Takes the throw now. Mid one tag, and Belanger's back, and then Grody attempted to push him off the bag.
Number 19.
Lee Wire making the safe call.
I don't believe Belanger was too happy with that tag. There's a drive by McNally, hit the deep left field, and that ball is into the Baltimore bullpen. Dave McNally has put the Orioles out in front 2-0. He hits a home run now and then. He hit 4 American League home runs. 3 last season and 1 this season. On the first pitch now, he has the Orioles out in front 2-0.
Number 9.
Struck him out on a curve. First time. Looking back to last year's World Series, we remember home runs by Bob Gibson and Mickey Lolich. There's a long belt by Robinson. Forget that one. It's gone. Nobody moved in the mid-outfield or infield. Robinson slams it into deep left center, and the Orioles lead 3-0. And this is the kind of hitting that the Orioles had all year until September 7th, when they went into a team batting slump during the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, but still had the pitching and defense to win.
John Powell, number 26.
Strike 3, but the Orioles came up with 3 runs, 3 hits. There were no errors, nobody left. At the end of 2.5 innings, it's Baltimore 3 and the Mets nothing.
Jerry has got, I said he had an arm and said, there we go.
Now McNally hits a home run for Baltimore, and Jerry Koosman goes after the first pitch and slams a double into the left field corner for the Mets. So he's on second, nobody out, and Tom Agee up, walked in the first inning. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Bud Harrelson. Struck him out. That's strikeout number 3 for Dave McNally. There are 2 down. He's still on second. Agee flying out. Harrelson struck out. The 2-2 pitch coming up to Cleon Jones. And he pops it up. Boog Powell, Dave Johnson converging. Look out. Who's got it? Powell yelled Johnson off. So the Mets are out in the last of the third. No runs, 1 hit. There were no errors, 1 left. At the end of 3 innings, it's Baltimore 3 and the Mets nothing. Pounding ball to Elweiss. An easy 1-2-3 inning for Jerry Koosman. At the end of 3.5 innings, Baltimore 3, New York nothing. Strikeouts for Dave McNally.
Right fielder.
Clendenin wasn't too happy with the call.
Swoboda, number 19.
There's that professional sign artist. $57,397 has been announced as the paid attendance. Struck him out on 3 pitches. 2 down. Overcast over Shea Stadium.
Curve is hit into right center. That ball is cut by Ron Swoboda going away.
There's Ron Swoboda now moving over into right center and backhanding the ball into the glove in full flight for the out that retired the side.
Well, the Orioles are out 1-2-3 in the top of the fifth at the end of 4.5 innings. It's Baltimore 3 and New York nothing.
Put 5 runs in game number 3 here in the 5-0 win. Swing and a miss, strikeout number 5 for Dave McNally. 2 Mets are out in the 5th inning, and Tommy Agee is coming up. There are 2 men out, and Bud Harrelson's up. Switch hitter batting right. Fly ball to center field, and Paul Blair has it lined up. So the side is out. The Mets with no runs, a hit, no errors, and 1 man left at the end of 5 full innings of play. The score is the Orioles 3 and the Mets nothing.
Center fielder, Paul Blair.
There's a swing and a drive deep center field, way back, and Agee retreats, and one hands the ball, turning around. Tommy Agee.
Looks like he nearly turns the wrong way on this one.
Right fielder.
Now he has to spin around.
Robinson, number 20.
Another one-hander by Tom Agee.
Some kind of outfield play here in this World Series. There's 1 man out, and Frank Robinson is up. He lined to right. Powell is on deck. And Robinson is hit by the... No, it's a foul ball. It's a foul ball, says Lou DeMuro. And now Earl Weaver is out. Earl Weaver is out there again. The umpire is Lou DeMuro of the American League. DeMuro called it a foul ball. Robinson and Weaver are contended that he was hit by the pitch ball, and they're asking him to ask the advice of Lee Wire at first base.
Well, yesterday didn't back Earl Weaver off any. Weaver wants to keep his man in the game.
Weaver and Robinson back up now. With Lou DeMuro. So now the Oriole manager goes back to the dugout.
Parting little blast.
Robinson has gone back into the dugout. George Bamberger, the pitching coach, is there with Weaver. Now umpire Lou DeMuro is coming over to the dugout. That runway goes back to the locker room, and apparently Robinson went back there for some treatment.
I think the umpire is asking, where's Robinson?
I think it would be a fair question at this time, getting into the act, because as far as Met fans are concerned, baseball is a participating sport.
They worked on him. He's taking his shirt off.
We're informed that the trainer said he had a goose egg on his leg. So as soon as he has readjusted the uniform, Robinson will be back out here with a 2-strike count. There's 1 man out, in this 5th game of the World Series. field, and Cleon Jones makes the catch. No runs, a hit, no errors, and one left. In the middle of the sixth inning, the score is Baltimore 3 and the Mets nothing. Cleon Jones is up now. Bottom half of the sixth inning. Cleon has gone 0 for 2, flied to right and popped out to first base. The Mets have had only 3 hits off of Dave McNally, who's been thoroughly in command. Cleon skipping to get out of the way, and it's ball 1. He starts down to first base, and DeMuro calls him back. So Cleon thought he was hit by the pitch ball, and now comes Yogi Berra down from the coaching lines at first, about halfway. And Gil Hodges carrying the baseball is coming over now. Hodges showing the baseball to DeMuro. Hodges, we might have a shoe polish play here. Remember the Nippy Jones shoe polish play in the 1957 World Series at Milwaukee? Hodges showing it to Lou DeMuro, who awards first base. Another shoe polish play here at Shea Stadium. And here comes Earl Weaver. You could bet on that.
You see two complete different approaches here from the managers. Weaver is more the fiery type when he comes out. Hodges just seems to be almost unemotional when he is even trying to make a point with an umpire.
So with nobody out, the Mets have a base runner, and Don Clendenin is up, and the Met fans have come alive here. Way back in left field, Don Buford goes to the wall. It's going, gone for a home run for Clendenin. Clendenin's third home run in this World Series. It is Baltimore 3 and the Mets 2. He hit a 2-2 pitch.
Watch this. This curveball hangs right over the plate for him. Now he hung the curve to him, right over the plate to him.
So Don Clendenin has his third home run of this World Series, and Ron Swoboda's up now with nobody on and nobody out. It's the Baltimore Orioles 3 and the New York Mets 2, which became a double and the winning run in the 10th inning yesterday. Here's a ground ball to short. A big hop up to Belanger, across to Boog Powell, and the side is out. So it's 2 runs on 1 hit, no errors and none left. At the end of 6 full innings of play, the score is the Orioles 3 and the Mets 2. This Saturday night, Andy Williams plays host to Don Knotts, Ray Charles, Cass Elliott, the Osmond brothers, and the quick streak of 2 games in their home park to clinch the World's Championship. Swing and a miss. Koosman gets his 5th strikeout of the day. McGraw throwing down in their bullpen. Here's a 1-2 pitch, and it's hit on the ground to short. Big hop up to Bud Harrelson. Guns across to Clendenin. Belanger's out. The sides retire. No runs, no hits, no errors, none left. In the middle of the 7th inning, the score is Baltimore 3 and the Mets 2. All right, it's Al Weiss leading off for the Mets. Koosman bats second in the order here in this inning, and McGraw is throwing in the bullpen. The pitch to Weiss is in for a called strike. Weiss has lined out to short and grounded out short to first so far today. Facing Dave McNally. That's a fly ball to deep left, and Buford breaks back now, and it's going, and it is gone for a home run for Al Weiss. And the score is tied at 3-3. The Mighty Mite has become the hitting star of the World Series for the New York Mets. That is his 5th hit in this World Series. Buford played that ball, you'd have to guess that it got a little help from the wind once it got up there. And now Koosman will bat for himself. That base hit keeps Koosman in the ball game. So the score is tied 3-3. Koosman comes up with nobody on and nobody out. And the Met fans are happy for the New York Mets. McNally strikes out Koosman for his 6th strikeout of the day. That brings up Tommy Agee. Here's the payoff pitch. And it is slammed to Robinson, who makes the catch of the line drive for the out at third base. He was guarding the line. The side is retired. 1 run on 1 hit. No errors and none left. At the end of 7 full innings of play, the score is the Mets 3 and Baltimore 3. Yeah, right. Kurt Mote. 3-1 delivery. And it's deep short. It'll be a long throw for Harrelson, and in time. What a play by Harrelson, and the side is out in order. It's no runs, no hits, no errors, and none left. And in the middle of the 8th inning, the score is the Mets 3 and the Orioles 3. All right, Tony Kubek, it's Eddie Watt in to do the pitching now for the Orioles. He pitched 2 scoreless innings yesterday, in which he allowed only 2 hits. 1-5, lost 2 during the regular season with an earned run average of 1.65. And Eddie Watt was credited with 16 saves during the regular season. He led the Orioles in games. He was in 56. Cleon Jones will lead off for the Mets coming up here in the bottom half of the 8th inning. 3-1 delivery to Jones. Swung on and hit in the air to center field, and Blair's going back. It's going, and it is off the wall in play. And Jones is standing up at second with a double.
Jones, who has power to all fields, more of a line drive hitter. Clendenin, who's coming up now, has a chance to tie a World Series record. He's hit 3 homers in this series. The record is 4, held by Lou Gehrig, who did it in a 4-game series, Babe Ruth, Duke Snider twice, and Hank Bauer, who hit 4 homers in a 7-game series. Clendenin's hit 3 here in this, the 5th game so far.
This will be a 2-strike delivery. Clendenin, Jones back to second, and Clendenin back to the plate. The count holds at 2 strikes. 2-strike pitch. Hit on the ground to third. Brooks Robinson up and throwing, and in time, no advance. Jones holds at second. So there's 1 away, and Ron Swoboda is coming up. Pete Rickard and Dick Hall are throwing in the bullpen now for the Orioles. Rickard, a left-hander, Hall, a right-hander. Swoboda is 1 for 3 today. Breaking pitch is hit in the air down the left field line. Buford is racing over, and he can't get it. He short-hopped it. Jones is coming home. There'll be no play at the plate. He scores, and Swoboda goes to second on the throw. The Mets are leading by a score of 4-3. Ron Swoboda. Don Buford.
Buford gives this a real try, but can't get to it. Traps it, and desperately throws the ball in on the throw to the plate. Here's the swing by Ron Swoboda, who comes up with his 2nd hit of the game. Right in there to him. But the Mets have scored 2 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th, and now have gone ahead with 1 in the 8th.
Now it's a 2-2 pitch. It's hit in the air to left field, and Don Buford moves up now. He's underneath. Buford makes the catch, and Swoboda holds. There are 2 men out. To look ahead to the top half of the 9th inning, the Orioles will be sending up the heart of the power of their batting order. Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, and Brooks Robinson coming up for the Orioles in the 9th inning, so don't go away. This is a 1-1 pitch, and it is hit to first base off the glove of Boog Powell, and now he is safe. Here comes Swoboda to the plate. He scores. Eddie Watt coming over to cover was behind the runner, and Powell tried to toss it to him. He's safe at first. A run batted in, and the Mets lead by a score of 5-3. Earl Weaver with George Bamberger, his pitching coach.
This ball really hit like a rocket down the first baseline. Powell ball, couldn't find the handle, wanted to scramble to the bag himself, saw he couldn't make it. Watts late coming off the mound, and the Mets now have a 2-run lead.
Strike delivery. Breaking pitch in there for a called strike to strike him out. Second one for Watt. The side is retired. So the New York Mets picked up 2 runs on 2 hits. There were 2 errors and 1 man left. And at the end of 8 full innings of play, the score is the New York Mets 5 and the Baltimore Orioles 3.
This is Kurt Gowdy. Lindsey Nelson is headed to the New York Met dressing room. In case this series is over today, we'll have the celebration in the Met dressing room. Earl Weaver and Hodges now looking on for the 9th. It's Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, and Brooks Robinson, the middle of the Oriole batting order. Jerry Koosman, since he gave up 3 runs in the 3rd, has shut out the Orioles, has retired 16 of the last 17 batters, and has set down 7 in a row. Robinson has flied to right, homered in the 3rd, struck out in the 6th. Ball 1 and a curve. 5 runs, 7 hits for the Mets. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Orioles. Boog Powell on deck. If the Mets do hold on to this lead, it'd be hard to pick out their hero. They've had so many of them. One of them right there, Don Clendenin, Tommy Agee, Ron Swoboda, Al Weiss, their pitchers. McGraw and Taylor, McGraw left-hander, Taylor a right-hander, are in the Met bullpen in case Koosman weakened. Powell getting ready to come up next. Fastball for a strike. The Mets, who lost 89 games last year, finished 9th, are 3 outs away now being the world champion. That's the Met bullpen. Ball 3, 3-1 to Frank Robinson. He walked him. And the Orioles now have the tying run of the plate. That is the first walk given up by Jerry Koosman in the game. Powell has flied to left, struck out, single to left. Brooks Robinson on deck. 5-3, Mets leading top of the 9th. Strike 1. The Mets have had an almost incredible surge. They won 38 of their last 49 games in the regular season. Defeated the Braves 3 in a row in the National League Championship Series. Brooks Robinson on deck. And after losing the opener to Baltimore, have come back to win 3 in a row here. One and one. And here at Shea Stadium, they have won 28 of their last 33 games they played. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2 to Boog Powell, 2-1. Frank Robinson at first, nobody out. Bounding ball to second. The throw is for 1. Robinson going in hard, trying to take Harrelson out. They're booing him, but that's the way he should run the bases. flying to left. We're going to have a runner for Boog Powell.
Your attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen from Baltimore, at first base, running for Powell.
Chico Simone.
Chico.
So it's Simone on first now. One out here in the ninth. A strike to Robinson. Powell's had the only hit. There's Dave Johnson on deck. Powell's had the only hit off Koosman since the third. Strike two. Nothing and two. If there's one word that can describe this Met team, it's inspired. No balls, 2 strikes. Curve is hit in the air into shallow right. Ron Swoboda waiting. 2 down. And if they get one more out here, you're going to see one of the doggone sights you've ever seen in sports here in this stadium and in this Met dressing room. So it's up to Dave Johnson now to save the Orioles. He's had 1 hit in 3 times. A ball to him. Orioles led 3-0 going to the 6th. That's a Barron on deck. Mets scored twice in the 6th, once in the 7th, and 2 in the 8th. A strike, 1-1. The Met fans now, over 57,000, roaring in every pitch. Jerry Koosman of Morse, Minnesota. Outside with his breaking pitch, 2-1. Beat the Orioles Sunday 2-1. Leading right now 5-3 with 2 down. Simone on first. The 2-1 pitch. There's a fly ball hit out to left. Waiting is Jones. The Mets are the world champions. Gary Koosman being mobbed. Look at this scene. Ballpark apart when the Mets clinched their division pennant against the Cardinals. Here's the Met locker room. The Mets had 5 runs, 7 hits, no errors. The Orioles 3 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors. Sport Magazine has declared Don Clendenin as the outstanding player of the series. And he wins himself a new dog. And it was a come-from-behind victory for the Mets today. They were trailing 3-0. Stay tuned now for a recap, the celebration of the new world champions of baseball, the New York Mets. The final score, New York, 5 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. Baltimore, 3 runs, 5 hits, and 2 errors. Bedlam continues on the field here at Shea Stadium, and there's also bedlam in the Met clubhouse. And let's switch down now to Lindsey Nelson.
All right, and here in the clubhouse, it's bedlam too, as Mrs. Joan Payson, the principal owner of the New York Mets, is here. Congratulations.
This is yours, Gil, isn't it?
And the Commissioner of Baseball, Mr. Bowie Kuhn, is here.
Lindsay, this is my most proud moment as commissioner. This is my opportunity to present to Mrs. Payson and to Gil Hodges, who are the two most responsible people for this team of destiny, for its accomplishment as world champion. I cannot tell you how proud I am of you, Mrs. Payson, Gil, of you, of your ball players. Every one of them made a contribution to this, every last one of them. And they can be proud of this because in beating the Baltimore Orioles, they beat the best darn ball club around they could beat. And I'm very proud of them. This then goes to the Mets.
Bowie Kuhn committing the commissioner now presenting this trophy to Johnny Murphy, the general manager, to Mrs. Payson, and to Gil Hodges. Step up here, Gil. We want to get a good look at you. It's a long step down, isn't it?
Beautiful, beautiful. And,
what do you have to say about this?
Well, first of all, I would just thank the commissioner for this beautiful trophy, and certainly thank my immediate boss, Mr. John Murphy, and just all the New York Mets, Mrs. Payson, Mr. Grant, and all the directors, and certainly all the wonderful players that we had this year. They've done such an outstanding job, and we must not forget all the beautiful fans that we had in Shea Stadium all year long. It's just been a great year, and thank God it's over now.
It is indeed. John Murphy, the general manager.
Well, Lindsay, this is the happiest day of my life. I think Gil did a great job for us.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for presenting the trophy, and I think we'd better remove this to a safer place with a little help, because we're going to have a few things going up here. Here is... Just behind you, Commissioner, is Don Grant, the chairman of the board of the Mets.
Thank you very much. Thank our fans. We've been very lucky, and we thank the man up above.
Don, what is that dripping off of you, Don?
That's a little champagne. I get it in my ear, but never in my mouth.
And the president of the National League, Mr. Warren Giles, who will be retiring after this season. Warren, you picked a great season to go out on.
This is the greatest thing that's happened to baseball, the greatest thing that's happened to the National League, and the greatest thing that's happened to me.
Wonderful.
Last year.
Wonderful. And you sound like you really believe it. And here's Mrs. Gil Hodges. Hello, Joan. She was here. He was here.
See, oh, I just can't believe it. It's been a year of miracles, and it's marvelous. Really, really
It
marvelous.
is indeed. And Herb Walker, the executive vice president.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Nelson.
And now we're going to try to get some of the Mets up here. Here we are, Jerry Koosman right behind me.
Great, Jerry. Just terrific.
Jerry, tell me first about that double that you ripped out there early in the ball.
Oh, you really hit, Koozie. I always told him I was the hitter, Lindsay. I always told him.
You've been saying that, and Jerry Grody right there.
Yes, sir. He can do it all, Lindsay. He can do it all.
And right here behind us.
Yes, sir.
It's Miss. Well, I'll tell you. I was going to say happy birthday to Mr. Payson. Let's get Don Clendenin up here. Don, what did you hit on the 2-2 pitch?
I think it was a slider. I'm not sure. Slider or curveball.
Didn't really care, did you?
No, I didn't really care.
Don, you had a great World Series.
Thank you very much. I would like to have done better. But like I told everybody from the very inception that we're a great ball club. We proved it. Baltimore was overconfident, but we proved that we're a great ball club.
I think Mr. Payson has something to say to you.
I have this.
Thank you, sir.
I have this to say to the whole team. Today happens to be my birthday, and who could have a better birthday present than these boys gave me today?
Quite a present. It is indeed. Don, when you came down from Montreal, people were wondering how long you were going to continue to play baseball. What do you say now? The season's over.
Well, I have a 2-year contract. I will honor my contractual obligations, and I will play as long as I think New York can need my services, as long as I can do an adequate major league job.
Certainly, we'll be looking forward to seeing you next season when we start all over. Don Clendenin. Let's get Tom Seaver over here. Tommy, gotta be a big thrill.
Oh, the biggest ever. I tell you, that you believe in this. Look at one of my bobos right here.
Leon Jones.
Beautiful.
Leon Jones.
Beautiful.
Just ripped that one pretty good there off the wall out in left center.
Well, Lindsay, this is the same ball club that been blown on the same field with the Baltimore Orioles, but we beat them. We showed them what we had, what type of ball club we had been all year. We're number one.
They thought they're going to run us right out the field, and we come to play. This is a club that played this way all year long. We came from behind. We did it today, and you can't say too much for this.
Now tell me, I want to ask both of you. Tell me sincerely, because I want to ask you this question. You're down 3 runs. What kind of feeling did you have at that time about your prospects of winning the ball game?
We built it up all year long. It's been like that, Lindsay. No matter what happened, no matter where we were down 6-0 in Pittsburgh, came back and won that ball game because we never put our heads between our legs and we always fought, and it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Well, Lindsey, we're the type of ball club that has scored late all during the year. We never give up. This is why we're here. We get behind 3 or 4 runs in the latter part of the ball game, we come back.
Congratulations to both of you. You both had a great year. We'll be back here in a moment. Again, the final score was the Mets 5, the Orioles 3. In a moment, we'll continue to review the events of today's game. Champion New York Mets, and it has a certain ring to it. We have Tommy Agee here, Ron Swoboda, Cleon Jones, and the mayor of the city of New York is about to make an entry here. Mayor Lindsay's coming up. What do you have to say to the Mets, Mayor?
Oh, God, it's going to be the biggest celebration New York ever saw. We're proud of you. What a lovely team.
What did the New York Mets in this summer mean to the city of New York?
Gave us the biggest lift that we've had in 1,000 years. Beautiful job.
Tell them you're going to give them a day Monday.
It's going to be a big day on Monday. Big celebration in the whole city. The biggest you ever saw. It's going to be tremendous.
The mayor of New York saying that Monday's going to be sort of a Met day here in New York. So get all ready for it. Did you enjoy the ball game?
It's the best game I ever saw in my life. Never been happier.
Marvelous. Mayor Lindsay of the city of New York. Tommy, you had a marvelous year and a marvelous World Series.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. We were kind of up for the series. We knew we could beat Baltimore. And when they were talking so much, it gave us that much incentive to win. They were talking so much, they forgot to play.
Right. Ron Swoboda was the last base hit, the biggest one you ever got in your life.
Well, we've come so far so fast. I think nothing can really be said. You know it, Lindsay. You know it because it brought us here. It was only one of the things. There were so many things.
Ron, you got the magic glove back. You got it all back.
He can pick it.
He can pick it. Can he pick it?
There's my buddy.
There he is, Rod Gasper, with a little something for the mayor here, and he's got to return the favor. It's fair enough. Come on, Ed Charles. Ed Charles, come up here. Let's get the glider up here. Ed, you've been in professional baseball.
Somebody threw in some cheap
We're number one, Lindsay. It's a wonderful feeling. Wonderful feeling.
And you were saying back in August when October rolls around.
When October rolls around, the Mets will wear the crown. East side, west side. How about that, huh?
Lindsay, what did I say? I said we won 4 straight, didn't I?
That's what
4 straight, and we did it.
Well, you won 4 straight after you lost that first one. That's true. Buddy Harrelson over here. Bud, you had a great World Series and a great season.
Thank you very much. I think it was a team effort today, as it has been all year. Once or twice, one individual would stand out, but overall, I think today was an example of our game, of a team effort and fighting back, never quitting on the bench, and just a great year, a great team, and I'm glad to be here.
Are you staying in New York now for the winter?
Yes, I live here in New York, and I'm looking forward to this World Series rubbing off financially.
Right. But here we are, Al Weiss, the mighty might who suddenly found all the power in the world.
Lindsay, I was just trying to hit a single that time. You lead-off hit, I was just trying to hit a single, and it just went out.
Well, how is it now? You hit a home run off McNally once some years ago.
Yeah, I got him in my book twice now, and this is the biggest one.
Had to be a great thrill.
Oh, I can't explain what was happening to me going around the bases. I just was so overjoyed I couldn't laugh. I couldn't keep a straight face. You know, I don't know what I did, you know.
A lot of things were happening to a lot of people about that time.
It's really great. You know, the whole team is just a great team effort, and it's been a wonderful year.
All right, we're here in the dressing room, and we'll be back with more about the 1960s.
The series shifted to Shea for Game 3, and from then on, the results were nothing but amazing. All year long, the Mets had continually thrilled their fans with their overachieving effort, and the series proved to be no different. Especially the 4th inning of Game 3, when Tommy Agee saved the day, the first time.
There's a drive in the deep left center, racing hard is Agee.
Later, in the 7th inning, with the game on the line again, Agee did it again.
And it is a fly ball. It'll be tough to get to. Agee is going, and Agee makes a diving catch.
Keyed by Agee's 2 fantastic catches, the Mets shut down the Orioles in Game 3, 5-0. Then with Seaver clean to a 1-0 lead in the 9th inning of Game 4, Ron Swoboda took his turn on center stage.
As I rolled over, I kind of, looked in there, and there it was. And I can remember at the time saying,
Boy, you just made one hell of a catch here. And this is the World Series.
Swoboda was right about his catch. He was thinking the same thing as everyone else. And amazing as his catch was, it also kept the Mets in the game until J.C. Martin stepped to the plate in the bottom of the 10th with Rod Gaspar on second.
Where's the bunt? Bunts the ball, a good one. It's taken now by Rickett, throws to first, out it hit him in the back. Here comes the winning run. The Mets win the ball game. The Mets win the ball game by a score of 2-1.
The Mets were now just one win away from completing the most miraculous baseball season ever, and Jerry Koosman was handed the opportunity to do it. But in the third inning, Koosman unexpectedly gave up 2 home runs, the latter a solo shot to Frank Robinson.
It's gone.
After Frank Robinson hit that home run, I came back in the dugout and I said, boys, I was kind of mad. I said, I'll hold them right there. They're not getting any more. Let's go beat them.
And beat them they did. First, Don Clendenin, later to be named the series MVP, hit a 2-run homer in the 6th inning to close the gap to 3-2. And then, in the bottom of the 7th, Al Weiss hit his first homer at Shea all season to pull the Mets even. 1 inning later, the Mets scored twice to take the lead for good. And then with 2 out in the 9th, Davey Johnson ironically provided the final obstacle.
Fly ball, deep left field. Jones is back to the fence. Jones is on the warning track. The World Series is over. Jones takes the day.
What was going through my mind at that time is we are world champions. You know, irreversible. No one can take it away. Unbelievable.
Most of us couldn't talk. We were so choked up.
It was a heaven before heaven.
Wonder of wonders, miracle of miracles, God took a Daniel once again, stood by his side and miracle of miracles, walked him through the lion's den. Wonder of wonders, miracle of miracles, God took a tailor by the hand, turned him around and miracle of miracles, led him to the promised land.
It's a celebration. I mean, you're sort of saying, hey, folks, get off on this.
But of all God's miracles, large and small, the most miraculous one of all is the one I thought could never be. God has given you to
Just 8 years after they had stood on the steps of City Hall as baseball's bumbling babes, the Mets now stood before the world as champions. And as the city rejoiced, the Mets enjoyed the spotlight.
Well, look who's assembling on our stage. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen. Here they are, the champion Mets, singing You've Gotta Have Heart. So let's have a fine...
We captured the whole country that year. We were the underdogs, and the country was, the mentality of the whole country that was really stirred up at that time. There was a lot of things going on in the world. It really kind of stopped everybody thinking about the bad things, and for a very brief period of time,
made everybody think along some good lines.
If the Mets can do it, the rest of the world's going to be all right. You know, it was that attitude. So it was a wonderful time.
While the memories of the Mets' miracle year lingered, the first-place finishes didn't. The Mets followed their amazing championship season with 2 consecutive third-place finishes. And then, tragically, just before the 1972 season was to begin, Gil Hodges was stricken with a massive heart attack and died. The team was devastated, but the organization moved quickly to announce that longtime Met coach Yogi Berra would take over as Hodges' successor. Berra and the Mets only finished 3rd again that year, but all wasn't lost for Met fans. In May, the already legendary Willie Mays returned to New York and unbelievably homered against his former teammates in his very first game. Optimism returned to Shea in '73, but the Mets were crippled with injuries. Bud Harrelson, Cleon Jones, John Milner, and George the Stork Theodore all went down for long stretches. And despite the addition of quality players like Felix Millan, the Mets found themselves floundering in last place. But as the fans spent the summer wondering just who to blame, the Mets' fortune suddenly changed.
M. Donald Grant comes down to have a clubhouse meeting, and his talk was on how the front office still believes in the players. We think of all you guys as family. We love every one of you. You wouldn't be here, and we have confidence in you. We know you can turn this thing around if you'll just believe in yourselves, you know? And I said, you gotta believe! Yeah, that's right, you gotta believe! Right in the middle of his talk. That night, we won the game. I got the save, and we were talking to the press afterwards, and the story came out, you gotta believe. Then we started getting that in the articles, and then it was headlines. The next thing you know, we went on a roll, and that became our rally cry.
From then on, the Mets started winning, and in a game on September 20th against the Pirates, with the Mets on the verge of moving into first place, the ghosts of miracles past returned to Shea.
Into the air to left field, it's deep. Back goes Jones by the fence. It hits the top of the fence. Comes back in play. Jones grabs it. The relay throw to the plate. They may get him. He's out. He's out at the plate.
From that point on, the next day we went out and we beat them bad, and we had it the whole rest of the way. It was the most together I've ever seen people get in my career. We just became a unit. It was one of the best periods of my life.
Now the stretch by McGraw, the 3-2 delivery, the runner goes, and a little pop-up. Milner grabs it, he'll run to first, double play. The Mets win the pennant. The Mets have just won the pennant in the Eastern Division.
With one of the most amazing comebacks in baseball history now complete, the Mets faced the Cincinnati Reds in the championship series. And after splitting 2 games in Cincinnati, things really heated up in New York in Game 3.
The first, double play. Fight breaks out. Pete Rose and Buddy Harrelson.
Well, I popped up a little bit in Cincinnati after Matlack's game. Made a silly statement that the Reds looked like me hitting. I didn't think it was all that bad. I was kind of putting myself down a little bit, but I was also putting them down. Then I heard that they were going to come after me and all that, so I figured that was it right there. And when Pete hit me after I'd already thrown the ball, I got mad, and then we had the little match. He just kind of lifted me up and laid me down to sleep, and it was all over. You know, I keep telling everybody I made him famous.
The Mets went on to win that game 9-2. And the next day, George Stone, who had joined the Mets in the same trade as Felix Millan, valiantly tried to close out the Reds. But Rose's homer won it in extra innings, and the Mets had to wait another day before finishing off Cincinnati.
Seth McGraw gets the sign, goes into the motion. Here's the 2-strike pitch. Swung on, hit on the ground towards first. Milner has the ball. Looks to McGraw. It's over. The New York Mets have won the pennant. The New York Mets have won the pennant. The New York Mets have won the pennant, and this is a wild scene.
So the always improbable Mets were back in the World Series for the second time in 5 years. And once again, they weren't given much of a chance to come out on top. This time, their opponents were the overpowering Oakland A's, a team of budding and established superstars out to defend the World Championship they won the previous year. The A's squeaked out a 2-1 win in Game 1. And in the 10th inning of a tie game the next day, the Mets were sure they had taken a big step towards getting even.
Not too deep. Rudy's there. Tagging is Harrelson. Will he gamble? He's coming. Here's the throw. And he is out at home plate. He's out.
Ultimately, Yogi and the rest of the irate Mets lost the argument. But Berra wouldn't be too upset for long. In the top of the 12th, the Mets rallied for 4 runs, helped in part by A's second baseman Mike Andrews' 2 errors, and Willie Mays' final hit in the majors. The Mets' 10-7 win was not artistic, but it was critical, and the teams returned to Shea. The A's won Game 3, but the Mets bounced back the next night. Rusty Staub homered in the first inning and drove in 5 of the team's 6 runs, playing despite a severely injured shoulder. On the mound, John Matlack avenged his opening game loss by winning the crucial 4th game, 6-1. The next night, Jerry Koosman shut out the A's for 6 1/3 innings, and Tug McGraw followed with 2 2/3 innings of scoreless relief himself, as the Mets blanked the A's 2-0 and took a 3-2 lead back to Oakland. But unlike 1969, the Mets' amazing march to the top in 1973 came up 1 game short.
So you got to believe it took us almost. It took us to the 7th game anyway, and then we lost it. I remember at the end, it was frustrating that we'd gone so far, and we're right there, and let it slip away.
The upbeat attitude surrounding the Mets after their 1973 championship season vanished soon after the next one began. In fact, no one has ever suggested that the Mets got off to a flying start in 1974. While they no doubt didn't realize it at the time, opening day was the harbinger of the bad times ahead, as Mike Schmidt of the Phillies hit a 2-run homer off Tug McGraw in the bottom of the 9th to overtake the Mets 5-4, and things didn't improve a lot thereafter.
I think when we lost the World Series, I think it took the heart out of the organization, because a lot of players, after coming so far and coming from such adversity of having a bad year and getting into the World Series, we expected to win the World Series, and when we didn't, somebody popped our bubble.
McGraw himself had his bubble burst too. And for the author of the previous year's rallying cry, his 9th year with the Mets turned out to be his last.
I didn't like leaving the Mets behind because at the time, because it was like I was getting thrown out, damaged goods. We don't want you anymore. And all through the years, it was always family, and Mrs. Payson and Johnny Murphy and all those people were gone. It was like, gee, everything's cold and cut and dry now, and I felt real uncomfortable with that, real disappointed. It was a growing up. It was like, oh, guess what, Tug? Welcome to the real world.
While some of the familiar Met stars were leaving, new talent like Dave Kingman was appearing on the scene. Kingman arrived with a bang at the beginning of the '75 season and hit 36 home runs that year and 37 the next. Meanwhile, Tom Seaver followed an off year in '74 with his 3rd Cy Young in '75, and Mike Vail provided some hope when he embarked on a rookie record-tying 22-game hitting streak late in the year. The Mets, though, still finished a respectable 3rd that year and again the next, as Rusty Staub became the first Met ever to drive in over 100 runs. But as things turned out, Staub's days in a Met uniform were numbered.
I promise you that no one wants to play in New York and with the Mets more than I do. It seemed like it was obvious to me that my chances of playing in '76 were going to be remote. I didn't even renew my lease in my apartment. I moved everything back to Houston because I really felt that they were going to trade me, and they did.
Unfortunately, there were changes in the Mets' immediate family, too. A few days after the 1975 season, Casey Stengel, the longtime symbol of the early Mets, passed away. And shortly thereafter, the Mets also lost Joan Payson. With the passing of the team's original owner, the Mets lost someone who had been with them since the very beginning, and the management of the team was shifted to her daughter, Lorinda DeRolay. The Mets' new owner then allowed chairman of the board, M. Donald Grant, a much freer hand in the operation of the team. And in their first season, the new regime saw Jerry Koosman, a favorite of the fans for years, win 20 games.
The ball game is over. Koosman has his 20th win of the year. He has struck out 13. He is being embraced by Stearns now. Everyone coming
They also saw Wayne Garrett's last year in New York. Garrett played 709 games in a Mets uniform, more than any other third baseman.
And if you don't think that's much of an accomplishment, consider that in their history, the Mets have seen 86 different players at third.
The Mets' third base troubles actually paled in comparison to the ones they endured during the 1977 season. To say things didn't go smoothly that year might be something of an understatement. Not only did the Mets land in last place again, but 1977 was also the year that the simmering troubles between pitcher Tom Seaver and chairman of the board M. Donald Grant came to a head. For some time now, Seaver had been dissatisfied with both his contract and the way the team had been run. Then on June 12th, in a game against Houston in the Astrodome, Tom Seaver pitched what many thought would be his last time in a Mets uniform. True to form, he won. It was his 191st victory for the Mets. But 3 days later, Tom Seaver was on his way to Cincinnati.
As far as the fans go, I mean, I've given them a great number of thrills, and they've been equally returned. And the ovation I got the other night.
You going to miss him, Tom? Not only would Seaver miss the fans would miss him. And the same could be said of Dave Kingman, who was also traded the same night. It was an emotional transformation, and June 15th, 1977 will forever be remembered as the Midnight Massacre.
Come on, George. You know, I think if the organization could have had the same kind of leadership they had when Gil was there, the same kind of strength that they had when Gil was there, definitely I would have wanted to stay there. But I just didn't enjoy the man I was working for.
Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes.
For whatever the reason, the facts were irreversible and undeniable. Tom Seaver, the man they called the franchise, was gone. More than any other player in Mets history, Seaver's name had become synonymous with the team's success. Statistically, he was head and shoulders above any other Met pitcher, with his 4 20-win seasons, 3 Cy Young Awards, and 19 strikeouts in one game. But even more than that, Tom Seaver and the Mets seemed to grow up together, and his loss was hard to take, not only for his fans, but for his teammates too.
Tom was really the franchise at that time, and had been. And for them to trade Tom, it was like as though the worth of the rest of us wasn't that much either. If they were going to trade him, they would probably trade us at the drop of a pin.
I saw my friends, people that I had grown up with, played a number of years, getting traded, people coming into an organization that really couldn't play.
I didn't see any improvement coming for the Mets organization. And so I asked to be traded.
Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes.
By 1978, almost all of the Mets from the championship era were gone, and a younger group of players had taken their place. The man in charge was Joe Torre, who had replaced Joe Frazier as manager in the early part of the '77 season. Torre's lineup included several players the Mets had obtained in the Seaver trade. Doug Flynn provided excellent defense at second base, where he won a Gold Glove award, while Steve Henderson took over in left field and finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting in 1977. Another player obtained in the Seaver trade was pitcher Pat Zachary. But there were some other Mets who carried the team for the rest of the '70s, like Craig Swan, who led the league in ERA in 1978, and John Stearns, who made the All-Star team twice before the end of the decade. But the Mets' real hope during that time was Lee Mazzilli, a Brooklyn-born outfielder with matinee idol looks and an apparent abundance of talent, who was the team's #1 draft choice in 1973.
I was on a field when they won the pennant in '69 and looking at it and say, this is a big league ballpark. I imagine being in the plate, you know, and then I go back out there and here I am playing in the big leagues, playing in that exact center field and going to the plate and doing the things that I had fun doing. And visualizing that while I was out on the field during the game, saying, hey, you know, when I was 14 years old, I was running on the field. And that's a nice feeling to have.
Unfortunately for Maz and the Mets, there weren't too many of those nice feelings going around in the late 70s when the team finished last 3 years in a row. And as the losses mounted and the attendance dropped, Shea Stadium became a far different place than it had once been.
It used to really hurt to come in and play against the Mets and see 6, 7, 10,000 people sitting in the stands, because I knew, and it really hurt to hear the ball players say, oh, we got to go to New York and play. I'd say, don't you guys know how great of a town this is to play in?
The Mets had come full circle, and for the moment looked more like their 1962 counterparts than any Met team from the recent past.